You have a TV?
No. I just like to read the TV guide. Read the TV guide. You don't need a TV.
Television addict! Television addict! Television addict!
Hello and welcome. It's TV Guidance Counselor. It's Wednesday, so that means it's time for a brand new edition of the show. As always, I am Ken Reed. I am your TV Guidance Counselor, and this is not just any brand new edition of the show. This is episode 150 of the show. That's right, 150 episodes. I know we've actually done more than that, but let's just say it's anyway. But I've done hundreds of hours of interviews for the show, which is absolutely insane. I cannot believe that I'm still doing this show, and I love it, and I cannot thank you enough for listening. In honor of our 150th episode, I wanted to have a very special guest on the show, and I absolutely managed to do that. My guest today is Cassandra Peterson, who you may know better as Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, but she is a fantastic writer, performer, has one of the most amazing life stories I've ever heard in my life. I think you'll enjoy it very much. We really talk about some pretty fascinating things. And when I started this show a little over 2 years ago, there were certain people that I had on my sort of dream list of people that I'd like to meet and talk to and interview for this show. And Cassandra was the very top of that list. All of the things she's done over the years was such a huge influence on me. Always love watching everything that she's done. So this is a big deal for me. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy episode 150 of TV Guidance Counselor with my guest, the one and only Cassandra Peterson.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
My guest is Cassandra Peterson. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much.
People are probably going, who the hell is Cassandra Peterson?
Oh, they know Cassandra. I often talk of Cassandra Peterson on this show.
Oh, well, good. Then they might know.
Yeah, they'll know. People may more easily know you as Elvira, as I think you were getting to.
So true.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
She's not in full Elvira gear today, everybody. She's in her civilian clothes.
Not unless you give me a lot of money.
Yeah. Do people recognize you like out of, I was going to say drag.
Yeah, it is drag.
Yeah.
I call it drag.
Yeah.
Rarely. You know, if they're not thinking about it. If I was, for example, at Comic-Con walking around, people would recognize me. If I'm just walking down the street, generally never.
There's no context. It's like seeing a teacher at a restaurant. You're like,
yeah,
I know
exactly.
that person.
Yeah, exactly.
It's my English teacher.
I pretty much go around the world, go about my daily thing, and with nobody mentioning me.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, to be that level of recognizable, especially at the height of all. I mean, you were on everything, and to kind of be able to not even be in disguise, the opposite of a disguise, and just be kind of sort of anonymous.
Yeah, no, that is the best part about my job. It's fantastic. I mean, I know enough celebrities to know that you know, believe it or not, everybody thinks, oh, being a celebrity is so great. Trust me, there are some celebrities I for example, like Brad Pitt. I sold Brad my old house, and I moved next door. Yeah, and Brad would be out there every day, and it was like he lived in a prison. There were guards, a gate on the place. There were
helicopters trying to see him
anywhere.
swimming.
I mean, that's not a really great life.
No, when I used to work at a local television affiliate in Boston, and one of the sales girls was dating Ben Affleck briefly. Yep. So we had paparazzi.
Oh yeah, just hanging
outside,
around.
which we never get in Boston. And one day I went out, and I don't look anything like Ben Affleck, but I was vaguely a similar height, I guess. And I would go out with my coat over my head, and then watch the paparazzi freak out, and then I'd go,
awesome.
"Sorry guys," and they'd be so mad. They'd be so mad. It was
I love that. That's awesome.
It was very fun.
I just was in Beverly Hills like a week or so ago, and you could see there were a million paparazzi. They were waiting for somebody to come out. I don't know who it was, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope they don't recognize me. I hope they don't recognize me. I look like I just no makeup and no way that I didn't want anybody to see me like that. And I went walking out, scurrying out really fast, and they didn't recognize me, and later I was kind of sad.
Yeah, it's like not getting carded.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope they don't card me. I kind of wish they carded me. It would have been nice. And so, as I alluded to, you've done a ton of stuff that I've really loved over the years, and every sort of piece of interviews I've heard with you, your life is just fascinating.
Oh,
And you're one of the people that I most wanted to talk to when I started doing this show.
Wow,
Sorry to
awesome.
gush.
Jeez, no, it's
embarrassing.
great. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. And we'll get to Elvira in a moment because that's probably the biggest thing, I think.
Probably. Yeah.
But you grew up in the Midwest in like Colorado, Kansas, I think?
Yeah, Kansas from the time I was born until I was about 7, and then we moved to Colorado Springs from the time I was 7 to 17. So, Kansas, I would have still been there when we were on a farm, but they flooded the valley to make a dam.
Right. How do you remember that? How did they break that to you?
Yeah, no, I just remember all my relatives lived in this town. There were about 350 people. You know, my grandmas, both grandpas,
Generations.
my uncles. Generations had been there. And the next thing is we were just all packing up. It was like the Beverly Hillbillies, you know, putting everything that they wanted in the car and
we're
tying
flooding
in the
where
trunk.
you live.
And everybody in the town just had to move away.
And I imagine at that time, that was kind of the time when people were like, it's for the good of everything. Or
They thought it was great.
Yeah.
But there was, in the little town square, there was a gazebo, and they had a sign on it that said, "Big damn business, get out of our town." And, you know,
understandably.
and the government, you know, gave people money to move away. So,
but they didn't have a choice. It was that eminent domain.
No, it wasn't
thing.
a choice. You'd be living at the bottom of a lake. Right now.
Yeah. You can stay if you like.
Yeah, you can stay. So it was a big deal. And everybody moved to Colorado Springs because I had one aunt who had moved there, gotten married and moved there. So she was the lure.
The anchor.
Everybody moved towards her.
Did she know that? Did she know you were coming? You didn't just show up?
We just showed up. And then everybody bought houses or apartments right in the same like block. It was crazy.
So you had a real family neighborhood.
Yeah, it was. It was funny. It was not a very functional family.
Right,
but
still a family. Yeah, my friend grew up in Colorado Springs, and he used to describe it as if Donald Rumsfeld was a city.
Oh, God, that is a good description.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Yeah, well, you know, the creepy thing that happened when I moved to it, it was a great city. It was kind of, you know, but somewhere in the 70s, Jerry Falwell and a whole bunch of people, the property was really depressed there. And they swooped in every kind of
focus on the
religious
family.
group.
Yeah.
Focus on the family. They all flew in there, bought every damn piece of property in the town. And overnight, it just became this kind of religious bastion. You know, it was like, what happened to the town?
It was literally
it was such a big
invaded.
change. It was.
Which is really bizarre.
I know. I think the flood was better.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Two very biblical things.
Exactly.
Here are the
now
floods.
I'm waiting for the locusts.
Yeah, here
over
are
here.
the locusts. So you moved really young, though. Like you got out of there when you were like 14, I think you
Yeah.
told me, right?
Well, 7 from Kansas.
Right.
Yeah.
But then
and
to Colorado,
Colorado, well, I was traveling around. I left when I was 17 to be a showgirl in Las Vegas. So, so I wasn't there forever, you know.
Did you always just feel like this is not for me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to get out. Just away from me.
Yeah. I mean,
you know.
it's also middle America seems, you know, and even Boston seemed like this, where a million miles from anything exciting. And if you're watching TV, which I assume you probably were at that time, where you're seeing things like, especially Vegas, a lot of the variety shows were coming out of there. You're like, it's not that far.
Yeah, no, it had a big impact on me. I was, from the time I could remember, I was like, I've got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Wherever I'm at, I got to go somewhere else.
Right.
And Hollywood was really like watch it and hear about it on TV, and it was like, that sounds like the place I should go.
But did it register that was a real place to you? Or like you can just, this will sound dumb, but just to think, oh, you can just go there. Like you can't just go there.
Yeah, not in the beginning. It didn't register for a long, long time. Even after I was a showgirl, I didn't quite know there was really a place like that. It was funny, when I was just born, and then I was 4, 5, 6 years old, we didn't have a TV yet. We lived on a farm in Kansas, and there was no television. We lived on a farm, and we did not have a television yet. But my parents were one of the first people to get one, finally, in our area. I mean, I'm sure other people had them, but it was a huge deal. And all the people from around everywhere would come and watch TV.
Yeah.
And I
probably
remember,
dress up for it.
Oh, they would. It was a big deal, you know. And I was too little to even remember that, but I do remember my parents always telling me that they'd come over. There was a really bad snowy picture, you know. You could hardly see anything. It was just a
Because you're in the middle of nowhere.
Horrible, horrible picture in black and white, of course. And they'd always come over to see this show called The Silver Ace.
Okay.
Everybody comes to see The Silver Ace because it was music. They could hear this guy playing and everything. And it turned out years later when they finally got a television that worked, that it was Liberace. But the way he spelled his name in the beginning,
They thought it was
it came on like big cursive writing,
Like Zorro.
Liberace. It looked like Silver Ace.
Oh,
so
that's
everybody
hilarious.
was always like, "Oh, we're watching the Silver Ace tonight."
When did you realize it was Liberace and not
I
the
don't know
Silver
when they
Ace?
realized, but when they got a better television set, I guess.
So it'd be funny if you never realized you come out to LA and they're like, "Did you watch TV?" And where's the Silver Ace live? And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Because I'm expecting like some fighter pilot Zorro type show.
Yeah, no,
Which
Silver. And he just came out and played the piano, and they loved it. And they always forced me to watch Lawrence Welk and stuff. My grandparents with it. It's like,
Bubble Machine
They wouldn't
Polka.
let me. Yeah, they wouldn't let me watch The Wonderful World of Disney afterwards unless I sat through.
You had to bargain.
I did have to bargain. They wanted me and my sisters to be the Lennon sisters, basically.
Right.
So they really wanted us to bone up on the show.
It's good money in that. Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
you could.
Didn't really turn out for us.
But you started singing though, right?
I did start singing. Oh, my parents and grandparents forced me to sing. We would go to like a restaurant, and when I say a restaurant very loosely, it'd be like outdoor picnic tables where they sold watermelon and stuff. And my parents would stick me up on a table when I was really little, and I'd sing like "How Much Is a Doggy in the Window?" And people would give me change, which was so. I was like, "This is awesome!"
Showbiz.
Yeah, I like this stuff. So anyway, that's kind of how I became the center of attention.
The performer. And when you didn't have a TV though, were you like aware that TV was around? Did kids at school talk about it, or was there like talk of somebody that has a TV, or was it just kind of when you got one, you're like, what is this?
Yeah, it was. I didn't really kick in with like, oh, let's watch TV until I was probably in maybe second grade. Then we were in Colorado Springs and we got a decent TV.
Right.
And it was still black and white, but I ordered one of those piece
Oh,
of
the color?
plastic that was made your TV color.
Yeah.
And put it over the TV. It was like blue on the top
Yep.
and then green on the bottom. I can't remember what was in the middle, but I ordered one of those. It didn't work so great. But then, it wasn't like anybody talking about it or anything, but kind of my dad is the one who always, when he came home from work, my sisters, my mom would always be asleep, and I would always watch television with my dad, and we watched Gunsmoke and wrestling. And that was our big thing. Yeah, and that was like, woohoo! I love this. And what Gunsmoke did for me was I ended up dressing up as Miss Kitty.
Oh, yes.
Who was the saloon girl.
This makes sense.
Second grade, I'm wearing heels and a sexy little pink velvet
Corsety
dress
kind of,
with a big plume in my hair. And I won $100 bond at a costume show.
Wow.
Yeah, so Miss Kitty paid off for me.
Yeah.
So
Did you
it was
make
worth
that
watching.
costume?
My mom and my aunt made the costumes because they ended up having a costume shop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I pretty much dressed up as every character on TV.
Oh, that is really
Every time
fascinating.
there was like a hot, character happening. I mean, I dressed up as I Dream of Jeannie later, and oh my God, my favorite was Teen Louise on Gilligan's
Yes,
Island.
yeah.
Oh God, I had a gold lame dress that I wore around. I'd even wear costumes to school when it wasn't Halloween. And everybody stayed far away from me.
So you could just go to your mom and your aunt and be like, "Hey, I want to have this Dream of Jeannie costume." And they're like, "Sure."
They were absolutely, because they said they'll make it for me and then they'll run it. As a costume. So
You're the guinea pig of, and probably the hip one who knows what the trend is going to be.
I knew what the shows were and what I would say like Dream of Jeannie. Well, what's that? Well, it's like a harem girl, and I'd show them pictures, and then they would end up making it, and then it would end up being a really hot costume for them.
That's amazing. I had no ididea that you had that pedigree of costuming. But I imagine.
I mean, look how I end up. And
I know it's
wearing a costume my whole life.
It was a family business that you've got in there.
I have a picture. I'm dying to put this on my website, but I'm going to wait till Halloween. My very first costume, I was about 5 years old, and my mom made it out of crepe paper, and it was a black and orange, like, princess outfit out of black and orange crepe paper with a big crown and a scepter. And you're not going to believe what I was. The Queen of Halloween. But guess what I am now?
It's is it
Is
somewhat
weird?
similar still?
Somewhat,
Yeah.
slightly similar,
Wow.
but that's pretty
Yeah.
damn bizarre, isn't it?
I mean,
when I think back on that, I go,
it is weird when you realize that, you think you've gone through all these life experiences and you're like this totally different person. And there are little things like that you go, no, you know what? I was pretty much exactly the same exact person at this tiny age.
Yep, just moving along this little track going,
Yep.
where can I utilize this?
This will make sense someday.
Yeah, it made no sense then, let me tell you, none of it.
And that's a very, even before the Focus on the Family people, it's a pretty conservative
Invaded.
place. They came in from helicopters. They came in with wings on. And they
It was pretty
descended from
conservative
heavens.
because of all the military bases.
Yeah.
Where later go-go danced at all
Right.
the military
Yeah,
bases. Which
that's
was
usually how that
awesome. I made
works.
a ton of money.
They're just investigating that side of things.
Yeah.
So imagine, if you're coming to school occasionally in costumes,
I was.
people were that now. I think for people that are younger than us, that would be sort of hard to understand that was probably weird because you can kind of wear whatever you want now.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
totally weird. I was definitely a geek. I felt like I was doing cosplaying, before it was invented, and kind of goth stuff before it was invented.
Right.
I'd dye my hair black, but just a dye that lasted like a day and got
Right.
all over everything. Or come to school with a wig on that looked like Tina Louise, like
Right.
a big red wig with curled, sideways, and it's so awesome. But I do these things, and that's why everybody really would stay away from it.
Which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I was a total geek.
But
And-
you're escaping. I mean, it's an escape.
I was escaping all the time. But, getting back to TV, besides the beginning TV,
Yeah.
watching wrestling and Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
Later on, I was thinking really, about what were the shows that really stand out that you really watched, and I sort of realized every show I've ever watched was comedy. I
Yeah.
don't, except for Gunsmoke and wrestling,
Yeah.
which
Can
could
occasionally be
comedy.
funny, yeah.
I only remember watching any shows that were funny. I don't ever remember watching. I couldn't even tell you what shows were like
yeah, I guess
detective
it'd be like
shows,
Dragnet or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never. My first shows I really remember watching were Little Rascals,
Yep.
which I love, and also, oh my gosh, Three Stooges.
Yep.
Stooges. I mean, I think they had a really big impact on my life. It's kind of scary to think that.
I think, but a whole generation of people they did and it was just a fluke because, and this will tie into the Elvira thing later. These local stations, once TV was airing not 24 hours a day, but 12, 13, they can't produce enough content. So they're going to air whatever's cheap that they can air. And it's old serials from the 1930s and 40s and Little Rascals and Three Stooges and Looney Tunes and this stuff that they get for almost nothing. But it gives you this education of comedy and timing and stuff that you would never been exposed to otherwise.
Yeah, that's interesting that you bring that up because that stuff was much older than I was watching this stuff in it would have been the 50s, like. And late 50s and
30
those
years
things were
old.
made. Yeah, they were already really old, but I was just completely fascinated. I was always acting out the Three Stooges because I had two sisters. So
Perfect.
and
Were you Mo?
I was Mo. How did you know?
You struck me as a Mo.
Because I got to poke my sisters in the eyes and hit them in the head, and it was awesome. I was always Mo. That is so weird that you said that.
I just
Oh
Sam
my
had to
God.
be a Mo.
But I loved Curly the best, actually. He
Yeah.
was the first. He was the first Curly. Later, he was replaced.
Yeah, then there was
with,
Joe Besser
and
and
there was Shemp. I never
Shemp,
liked Shemp.
yeah. Well, Mo was in charge, and he
Yeah,
had that
and-
seething rage that was always really funny.
Yeah,
and
I could beat the crap out of my sisters, and they'd
Yeah.
sort of take it and be okay with it.
We're just being Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
And don't worry about me poking your
Yeah.
eyes out. It's okay.
acting. It's acting. And Larry Fine's Philadelphia accent always just never fails to make me laugh.
Oh, I love them. Dr. Fine? Dr.
Yeah.
Fine?
Oh, it's
no.
yeah. TV 38 in Boston was our station that just endlessly ran these, and they'd do New Year's Eve marathons.
Wow.
But it became this shared experience that everybody had, where it was no matter how different people were, you could be on complete opposite sides politically or whatever it was. If you go Stooges, they're like, oh yeah, and everyone.
The funny thing was, girls did not watch the Stooges.
No, it's a
Something
real
was
divide.
wrong with me. I was watching. I mean, I'd
wrestling.
talk to about it, or wrestling. Yeah. I'd talk to other girls about it or mention it, and it was like, Three Stooges, what's that? Ugh. But boys were really into Three Stooges.
Right. Yeah.
And wrestling.
It's very physical comedy, which I think that boys, instantly gravitate towards. And the sort
and
of,
girls just did not get it.
no, they want to watch Patty Duke or maybe
which-
Gidget later or something.
Yeah, I never was into those things.
Those
Although I saw
angsty-
them and I'm familiar with what they are, they just weren't something I was like, I got to go see this.
Yeah, I guess maybe it wasn't like the Stooges is something that you're not experiencing on a daily basis. So it's truly like, I can only get this from watching it here. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I know some teenage girls who are arguing with their parents. I really don't want to waste my time watching that. I need to make a good use of this time.
Yeah. No, it was. I was just obsessed with them.
So I imagine Halloween was a big deal then if you're the costume
big.
shop kid.
Oh, yeah. No, Halloween was a gigantic deal. It was when I had to help out at the costume shop, like stuffing tiger tails with foam.
Right.
My parents sewed it. And then they'd get all the costumes back and I'd, try to help iron or do whatever. But it was our big time of the year. And it started in September. It started with like Oktoberfest was also happening. And there were a lot of German immigrants German people because of the military bases. So Oktoberfest was a giant deal. And then Halloween would come along. And so at our house, that was the time of year, you know.
That's the holiday season.
The holiday was Halloween, yeah. So, obviously, again, that had, an impact there
effect
on my life, right?
So when you move out to Vegas, you're 17, you get a gig as a showgirl. I imagine that was pretty overwhelming this is, we're talking 60s, classic Vegas, late 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Vegas that people think of when they think of
totally
Vegas.
It was Vegas. I mean, it wasn't quite, the Rat Pack was not quite there, but still Frank Sinatra was performing.
Yeah.
Dean Martin was performing. Sammy Davis Jr. was performing. The hotels were the 7 original hotels.
Yeah.
I was at the Dunes. It was really, really very awesome back then. Oh, people went to shows in long flowing dresses to the ground and mink stoles, and guys were in tuxedos. I mean, and then shows all had dinner. It was dinner shows. You had like a 7-course meal. You had champagne. It was like now, you go in in your thongs with shorts with the ass torn out and a t-shirt and Burger King in the lobby. Oh my God, it's so sad when I go there. It's a different. It was super classy then.
Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, my wife and I, we were out here a couple weeks ago. We went to Musso Frank's, and I'm like, I wore like a shirt and tie and a coat just because I felt. And we're sitting there, and then like people coming in like tank tops and shorts. I'm like, come on, don't you feel just for you?
Depressing, yeah.
But had you ever been there before you moved there? I imagine it would just be overloaded and you get in there.
I had been there many times because my family my dad would get like 2 weeks vacation every summer, and we would go straight to California where I had an uncle and an aunt and a bunch of cousins that lived in Chino, California, right by the prison.
Fabulous Chino.
Oh man,
for the pants.
But of course we'd go to Disneyland and Hollywood and and see all the sights, and Tijuana. Oh, that was a big deal. So we'd come to California and we always stopped in Vegas because my parents loved to gamble. So we'd stop in Vegas, usually go downtown, and where the signage down there, and it's a little similar now, but in those days, oh my God, it was just
the neon is gonna
we would drive down there, and I'd just be in the car, just not believing my eyes, and go down the strip. It was just like, holy crap! And we rent some cheap motel where there was a swimming pool, and that was
which
my
is the
idea
height
of heaven.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, and as I got older, when I was about 16, my parents allowed me to go in a show with them. They were going to the Dunes to see a show, and I begged to go with them because I had seen View Girls with Elvis Presley and Anne Margaret.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I want to be Anne Margaret. That's it. I want to be her. And so I went in the show with my parents. I put on a wig. I put on tons of makeup, eyelashes. I bought this bra at Fredericks of Hollywood. I almost drowned in the pool wearing it because I wore it, and it was like 500 pounds of foam rubber, and it pulled me to the bottom.
Soaking up all the whole pool.
Yeah. So I dried it out, and I wore it that night. And so I had tons of cleavage and eyelashes and makeup on. And when I went in, the maitre d' said, "Are you a showgirl?" And I said, "No." I was 16, sitting there with no idea. I'm drinking champagne with my parents. Yeah. And they went and got the dance mistress who came out, said there was a new show that they were doing. Would I like to audition? I mean,
you got scouted.
It was insane. It was like, going to, what was that drugstore that supposedly Schwab's, exactly. Wow, I used to go to Schwab's and nothing happened there.
Yeah. Well, you didn't need it to. It had already happened.
Yeah, well, not quite. I mean, then when I went to Vegas, I had a long time of struggling between Vegas and finally getting a job that paid, an acting job. But anyway, that's sort of how it happened. So I was very, very familiar with Vegas as a little child. We would stand outside the curb while my parents gambled close by, and we'd stand out there, and sometimes quarters and stuff would fall out of the machines because then they gave you actual money. hot chips. And so we would like be scurrying around until a security guard came over and told us to, get away
Scram,
from the door.
kids.
Yeah.
But I imagine that's so almost like a real schizophrenic sort of whiplash existence, because you're in this kind of small town where you're watching TV as your vehicle to kind of see these sorts of things, and even Lawrence Welk, which is boring but show busy.
Yeah.
And you're sort of really cosplaying kind of what you said, this life almost of these stars, and then when you get to go to a place that actually exists for a few days or whatever, it gives you just enough of a taste that you're like, it's real.
Yeah, it did. It's like, oh my God, this is glamour. This is life. This is
This is
everything
the
I've been
silver
dreaming
ace.
about. Yeah, this is the silver ace. No, I mean, it let me know that there is something out there. There's something like that for real.
Right.
Kind of backing up, as I got a little older, and I was in grade school from like second grade to sixth grade, and even maybe in seventh and eighth, I became fascinated. I mean, my favorite shows on TV were Addams Family.
Yep.
Yeah, I hated the Munsters because they were like, it was like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. It was like you couldn't be a fan of both in my head anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Yeah,
I was
like that with Bewitched and Genie as well.
Oh,
a little
Bewitched.
bit. Yeah.
Oh my God,
I'm
I love
Bewitched.
Bewitched. I love
Yep.
Bewitched.
Elizabeth Montgomery.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So Bewitched, Addams Family. I just don't know why there's not shows like that on TV anymore.
I mean, I think that
a little few here and there, but
it's weird. I think part of it is that the pedigree has changed. So like all the people who made those shows, they were sort of inventing it for the first time because they didn't come from TV, because it didn't exist before that. So they were like vaudeville and burlesque people and radio people. And so you got this more weird, interesting stuff. And Elizabeth Montgomery was a movie star. I mean, it was weird that she would do this. And Fred Gwynne had done, like Car 54, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. And Lewis was on that too. But the thing I didn't like about the Munsters, and they'll see if you agree, it looked right, but it was just a sitcom. It didn't do anything with it.
it didn't really. It was kind of like that. That's a good point. They were like, and I like. There's still a place in my heart for the Munsters because they were spooky and they weren't ooky because that was the Addams Family.
Exactly.
But they were spooky and they had that thing. But it was more like just you're right, a sitcom with people wearing wacky costumes.
It's Leave It to Beaver, and they just look really cool, which is disappointing because you're like, I want them to do things with this monster, like do a little bit more interesting. But the Addams Family,
clever and
so
kind of
smart.
edgy back then.
And
It
they
was
were
like
lunatics.
What?
And John Astin plays crazy like nobody.
Yeah, and Morticia was sexy.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And that whole love scene between her, her and her husband when he's kissing her arm.
That's really kind of, I imagine as a kid, probably somewhat embarrassing to see with your parents, because even though you're not really seeing anything, it is like really amped up. I mean, they're like,
It was a big deal for me. Yeah, my parents, they wouldn't have been watching that show anyway.
Right.
I don't think they even knew it existed.
Right.
I'd run home from school to make sure I didn't miss it,
But you could, I mean, this was, to put it in context for people, the same time when, on Dick Van Dyke, they have to sleep in separate beds.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
meanwhile, Gomez is kissing up her neck and like, oh.
Yeah.
And because they're sort of silly on the surface, they got away with it.
They could get away with it, but it was actually pretty sexy. And she was pretty sexy
yeah.
wearing that dress. And
She was a huge pinup in World War II.
Yeah,
and
she was awesome. That had a big impact on me, obviously, again. And Twilight Zone was the other show.
Right.
Oh my God, at night, I would watch Twilight Zone before I went to bed and then have like horrible nightmares all night. And then go back the next
need
time
more.
it was on, next week.
Yeah.
Everything was on once a week. So you'd have like, Wednesday, you got to run home and you got to see it. And it was on at a certain time. If you missed it, you blew it. There's no recording. There's no nothing. It was an event.
Yeah, exactly. That is what I try to get at with this show, because I think that in the last century, which is weird for me to say,
Yeah, I know,
we kept these things with us more because you earned it. You had to wait for it, and when you watched it, your eyes were extra wide, and you tried to record every single thing because that you don't
In
know
your
if you'll
brain.
see it again.
Yep.
They didn't have reruns. You're like, this is the only place it can exist, and I want to make sure I see it.
Yeah.
And if you missed it, it was gone.
They really were events. It was like the biggest event on TV of all time that I could hardly live through was the Beatles being on Ed Sullivan. I mean, I lost my shit. I am not kidding.
Yeah.
Actually, it was so funny. It's not so funny. My grandfather had died not too long before that. And, I was sad about that, but I had attended his funeral and I didn't cry. I didn't really get what was going on. I was still like, I don't know. How old was I by then? 12 or
12.
something.
Yeah, you're kind of like,
and it was
okay.
super sad, but I didn't sit there sobbing. But
Yeah.
then when the Beatles came on TV, I was like crying my freaking eyes out.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I was just crying like at the end
It's
of the world.
overwhelming.
And my mom came in and like started beating me, going, "You're crying over the Beatles. You didn't even cry at your grandfather's funeral. What's wrong
I
with
never
you?"
heard him sing. I never heard him sing.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I don't know what happened, but it was like the event of a lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, it clicked with a generation. I mean, I think like when you're at a funeral, when you're that age, you're sad because you're picking up that other people are sad, but you aren't because it doesn't have a direct connection with you.
Yeah, I didn't
But with the
really
Beatles doing, it was like,
get
these
it.
are people sort of my age. It's something I've never heard before that is almost primal, where you're just kind of like, this thing. And I always talk about that when people have that moment when they discover the thing that they like, but they've always liked it, but just didn't know till they
Yeah,
saw it.
yeah.
And that for so many people was that
I
moment.
it changed that changed my life like you can't believe.
Yeah.
Suddenly, instead of liking Elvis, I liked the Beatles, and it really drove a wedge between me and some of my friends. I
Yeah.
actually had a few creepy little, friends, and it drove a giant wedge, but they were like, "Ew, the Beatles look like girls. They have long hair. Ew, that music is horrible." Well, and it'd be like, I don't know what clicked in my brain, but I was like a Beatle freak
Yeah.
from that second on.
I don't think you were alone. I mean, it really changed
I
the whole
wasn't
culture.
alone.
You know?
I think there were a
It
few
was-
other people
yeah.
that had that same experience.
Have you ever seen the Jack Parr show from the month before? That was it was the first time the Beatles were on TV, but it was footage from London. But it was the first time in America.
No, I didn't.
I've
Wow.
read-
Now you tell me I'm depressed.
No, that was their debut here, and they were here. But it's really interesting to watch the Jack Parr show before, which was, I mean, Jack Parr was funny, and he created the Tonight Show in that format. But it was
I'm
very,
familiar with him now.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah, yeah.
then I wasn't.
No, because kids wouldn't be watching it,
Yeah.
But he puts it in this weird context. So he shows it almost like a curiosity of like, look at this weird thing from England. And he makes a point to say they come from Liverpool, which is a really rough area, and they're
Yeah.
really poor. And like, it's almost like a National Geographic for like, here, parents, look at these animals, but not condemning, but or curiosity.
Yeah.
So when they come on Ed Sullivan, it's more like, look at this show.
Yeah.
And it's only a month apart. It's exactly a month apart they air.
Wow.
And it's interesting to see how different they're presented.
That is interesting. I didn't know that any of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know how I'd heard about them or what was going on. Or I had heard their song, like She Was Just 17.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
I Wanna
standing
Hold
there.
Your Hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I heard the song and I was like, oh my god, it was so different, so
Yeah.
cool, so and so I go, wow, these guys sing this. I
Something's
didn't even know
going
how
on
they
there.
looked or anything.
Right.
They're going to be on Ed Sullivan. I knew all about Ed Sullivan because I watched it a lot.
Yeah.
I love Topo Gigio.
Ugh, really big
I
shoe.
love the comedians with it. Phyllis Diller,
Yep.
I mean, big impact on me. The comedy that was on that show. Then you had to sit through like Sophie Tucker and stuff, which I was not so into,
Yeah.
or some opera singer or some juggling act.
Joan
but-
Rivers would show up.
Oh
on
my
there.
God, Joan River, big impact on me.
Yep.
And Phyllis Diller, man. And these women that would come on there, it was like, woman comedian?
Yeah.
What?
You never
I'd
saw
only
that.
seen the Three Stooges.
I mean, there's only one of them, but there's a woman.
And
Yeah.
so I was blown away. I mean, it was a big deal for me. So I would sit through a lot of stuff I wasn't interested in. Then I heard about the Beatles coming out, and I tell you, really just flipped my entire life on
Yeah.
its head.
And I think that was something that only television could do because the
Yeah,
song
yeah.
was popular, it clicked with you. But if you didn't have that moment where you then saw them and it was so different,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have gone to that next level.
Yeah, definitely. It would have just been like, wow, this is fantastic music. I love
Right.
this. But that just,
And it was national. I mean, everyone in little towns were seeing this. And
Yeah.
they may not have been hearing the records. They may have only had like polka stations. But
Yeah.
everyone watches Ed Sullivan. And everybody's
true.
seen this now. And in every place it went, it's now in the brains of all the kids that
Yeah.
saw that. So it plants that seed of, yes.
yeah,
this is the
absolutely.
thing.
And I've talked to a lot of people who they saw them and you either lost your mind or you just, ew, what's
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
And that was a dividing thing between people you liked and people you didn't like.
Right, yeah.
It really was. And I've talked to so many like guys and women over the years who said that moment was like,
I found my
no longer
tribe.
hung out with my friends. I've had new friends. I found
Yep.
new, and I started dressing differently.
Yeah.
And acting differently and listening to different music. And
It was an instant coming of age, and it also coincided with the creation of teenagers who kind of didn't really exist before that, which sounds silly, but they really weren't. It was like you were a kid and then you were an adult. You moved out, you got married, you're an adult.
Yeah.
And finally there was
was
this age where they had music for them and they could just be young adult teenagers, and so it was kind of a perfect time and the perfect music for that thing.
That is true. Because we weren't even dressing like teenagers then. I was dressing like a little mini weird adult. I had like a bubble hairdo, and slept with toilet paper around it at night when I went to bed to keep it like all, perfect.
Get my hair done.
Yeah. And then I'd wear, if you dressed up, you'd wear a little sheath dress, which was like the same thing your mom would wear, And
there was no difference.
Very good point. There weren't things for teens. You didn't go to a store and get teenager clothes that were hip and cool that your mom would never wear.
Yeah.
But a little later on, oh my God, after the Beatles, next thing
Teenagers
you're wearing
are a thing.
Mini skirt. No adults are going to wear that stuff. You're wearing mini skirts and, giant
Go-go
mesh
boots
hose and go-go
yeah.
boots and fringe and stuff that your parents would not wear and kids would not wear.
Right. It
Children.
was unique. And I mean, I think it's crazy that people can't imagine a time when teenagers weren't a thing, but it really wasn't. You were like a Shirley Temple, and then you're, Doris Day. There's
so
nothing
true.
in between.
Unless you're a hoodlum.
Right.
And then, of course, you're wearing black
delinquents.
leather and riding on motorcycles or a beatnik, and then you're like just smoking weed and snapping your fingers
Writing
at poetry.
Yeah.
And I'd heard about those people, and they were like, definitely stay away from those people. And I was very scared about them.
They'll recruit you.
Drugs. They eat drugs, marijuana. And,
They'll pull you in a van and shoot you up, and then you're done.
Oh, yeah. We had like 2 beatniks that lived like a block away from us. It's like I walked around the other side of the block to make sure I wasn't kidnapped by them and forced to smoke weed. They did. They wore sunglasses and black turtlenecks. It was really scary.
It was really weird. Like how you dressed was a real cultural identifier until this youth movement, where now they were had a say in politically and everything as well. But in culture that was made because people realized there was money to be made, like everything.
Yeah.
But you started getting AIP to get to the Elvira thing there, feed in. They were like, hey, make movies for this generation and we'll make money because nobody's doing it.
Oh my God. Like going to see Hard Day's Night. Oh my God. At the theater, lining up around the block, girls screaming, crying. I saw it, I don't know how many times in a row, but enough that I screamed until I lost my voice. And then my mother beat me again because
What are you doing?
because I couldn't go to school the next day.
Yeah.
And
I have to call in Beatles.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, you're really mentioning stuff that really is so true. And I never really thought about it that way. But the beginning of the 60s really started changing everybody's head, and suddenly there were shows like Dick Clark, American Bandstand, which was a little before, but it was getting hipper and cooler, and they stopped looking like little adults anymore.
Yeah. They're not Pat
just
Boone.
Junior adults. Yeah.
Clean-cut Pat Boone.
Yeah, and the bands started coming on there that were really like, oh my God.
I can do this, or like that's like us now. It's not just the
and then
junior
shows
adults.
on TV like Hullabaloo and Shindig. Oh my God, I love this. Oh my God, I won a Hullabaloo Go-Go Girl contest. That's how I started dancing. Yeah, they had a national contest that they went around looking for Go-Go girls, and it was in little white boots and short little fringy dresses, and I won second place in the national contest.
That's still pretty good.
I got a wardrobe and I got to be in a parade.
Wow.
And it started me on a whole career of go-go dancing, which, or went straight downhill. But
that was for everybody.
That show, obviously, those shows had a big impact. It was a whole new thing for TV. You're right. Teenagers had shows they could watch.
Yeah, and it's spreading stuff that's going on in the city. So it's New York and LA. Whatever's going on there is now accessible to everyone.
Yep.
And you might have had a cousin who went there before who was like, let me tell you about Go-Go Day. But now you can see it.
I had a cousin who literally, oh my God, we'd go out when we went out, like I said, to California. He'd go, look, I'm wearing bell bottoms. And I'm, bell bottoms? What?
Yeah. Are you crazy?
Yeah, and he took me down to like Redondo Beach or something, and these girls were wearing these hip hugger bell bottoms and showing their bare midriff. With these,
planet is
like,
this?
What the hell? I immediately, of course, bought them all, went back to Colorado Springs, and I was always, from then on, the coolest girl in Colorado Springs.
I've been to the top of the mountain, and I've come back with you've crossed over.
Sharing information with you from far away.
It really is, and it takes hindsight of where we can look back at it, because I'm sure in the moment nobody notices these things. But, if you look at the best example I always say is Dragnet, which was on for like 18 years.
Yeah.
And
I'm familiar, of course, with it.
yeah,
but
it was
I never
on all the
watched
time, but it wouldn't be a show that would be interesting to a
Right.
kid. It's very straight-laced. And the thing is that by the end of it, you see LA changing around them. And the very last episode is an anti-LSD episode that was written by Jack Webb. He wrote it and directed it. And there's a guy named Blue Boy, and he dies of an LSD overdose.
Oh yeah, a lot of people died of LSD overdoses.
Yeah.
Actually, there's never
all
been
of
one.
them, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just so funny where you see this 50s relic of a guy who's very straight-laced doing his interpretation of this stuff he can't process.
God,
And it's
that's hilarious.
fascinating. It is fascinating to see. And even gradually, you really do see, because LA was kind of the ground zero for it, you see it change, because they're filming in the same like 3 locations all the time, and it just around them is changing, and they're
doing their
same.
Same trip,
And
right?
it's a fascinating time capsule.
It's super interesting.
It's very
How
cool.
did it run?
It ran on Nick at Night for a while,
Well,
and
yes,
and I think they showed.
Hey, what happened to Nick at Night?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was 12 seasons that it was on
Wow.
for 12 years.
That's well,
a
no
long
wonder you
time.
could see time changing
Yeah,
around them.
yeah. And it's
How
it's
funny.
fun to check, even if you just watch like first episode, last episode, and you're like, "Geez, this
Oh
is
my
wow!"
God.
Because no shows run that long now,
Yeah.
especially through
No.
times where culture
12
changes
years.
so much at that time.
Yeah, wow, I didn't realize that. That is pretty awesome. Yeah, you saw some shows you would watch, like say, I loved Gilligan's Island. Don't
Yeah,
ask
well,
me
Ginger.
why. Mostly because of Ginger. I wanted to be Ginger. I wanted to be Tina Louise.
Yeah.
And so I was fascinated with that show. And they would get some of the shows that I did watch, like maybe My Three Sons or something, would talk about, like, they'd mention something that teenagers might be interested in.
Or the sock hop.
Yeah, yeah. And then it'd be like, oh, that's so awesome.
Right. A weenie roast.
Yeah. What? Yeah, it's funny. I then had a period of my life, probably when I went to Vegas, that I never saw TV again. And I moved to Europe after that. So I never saw. I have this big, funny gap in
Right.
television that I'll be talking along to somebody and they'll go, remember that show? God, what was it? That there's a family and
The Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'll go,
Nope.
What? What? No, and later, of course, I did see some.
Yeah. You
and
catch
of course,
up
the Brady
later.
Bunch movies, but people would just bring up a show that I would just be completely. I mean, because a period of years went by where
Yeah.
I just didn't know about it, watch it, see it, nothing.
You were having real life. I mean,
was
if you're
busy
in
having
Vegas,
real
you're
life.
busy.
I
You
was
know,
super busy.
but
Didn't even have a TV, so
you
I
don't
was
need
like,
it. You don't
yeah.
need that escape. Almost, you're. It's a distraction from all this great stuff that's
It
going
is.
on.
I'm in
around
Vegas
you.
hanging
Yeah.
out with, and
Yeah.
Engelbert Humperdinck and Tom Jones and Elvis and whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you're
really don't need to
hanging out
watch
with
TV.
Elvis. I mean,
Yeah, I
why
know.
would you need to watch TV?
Exactly. Why would you go home and,
Yeah.
I got to watch that show?
I'm sorry, Elvis. The Brady Bunch is on. Could you just hold it right there? I got it. That's great.
Exactly. In Europe, of course, you didn't watch TV
Yeah.
because number one, you couldn't understand the language. Later, I learned to speak Italian, but then
Right.
it was this horrible, dubbed
Broken Italian.
television. It was just awful. And so you never saw it for,
Yeah.
a period of years.
And you had no chance to catch up. Like now you could be like, I watched it on the plane or whatever. And like
Yeah.
a cultural touchstone show like the Brady Bunch, which is everybody's like, which speaks to how many people watch these shows.
Yeah.
Because I always say that the number one rated show now wouldn't have even cracked the top 100 then because of just numbers.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
was this shared experience. So if they're like, it's like telling someone you didn't see the moon landing or something. Like,
Yeah.
of course, everybody, what are you talking? And
Something to talk about around the water cooler
Yeah.
the next day.
it's
or
a
at school
shared,
or
it's
whatever.
a low stakes shared experience, basically. It's everybody's
It's sad.
sports.
It's what people talked about in small towns because they didn't
Yeah.
have anything that much going on.
The weather
maybe.
was boring or something.
Yeah.
So
well, especially like somewhere like Boston where you're
Yeah.
really kind of shut in for the
Yes,
winter,
yes.
TV's got to be a big deal.
hockey. We need to watch the
Oh,
hockey.
yeah, hockey.
Never was for me. So you're in Italy and you were in a band. Is that what brought you there?
Yeah, I was in this. No, it didn't bring me there. I got done with Vegas, and the two singers that were the lead singers for my show. I mean, I got done with my contract in Vegas. It was
Right.
1 year contract, and I really wanted to leave. 1 year was really
too
tough.
much?
It was like suddenly I'd been a teenager running around doing whatever I wanted, and now I was still a teenager. I was like 19, but going to work, a really, really strict 7-day-a-week
Yeah.
work schedule. You were there like 10 hours.
And it's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work with very little time off. We had a swing girl. You'd go around. You'd have a day off, maybe a month,
Wow.
and then you'd have like a week off. Well, in the 1 year,
Right.
But man, you worked like really hard.
Yeah, it's really physical.
You were there every
yeah.
night, and you were getting there at like, I don't know, 7:00 to put on the whole body makeup and everything. Then we had 3 shows then.
Wow.
So your first show was like 9, and then it was like midnight, and then it was like 3 a.m.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was, then you get done, you go home, you make food, you do your laundry, go to sleep,
Yeah.
wake up, and you do it again. That was not what
It's
I
a
wanted.
whirlwind,
I
yeah.
found it was. There were fun things going on after work and everything that were exciting, but
But you're beat.
the job part, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was making like in those days, I thought I was making tons of money.
Right. But
And
when-
I was making like $500 a week.
Which is a ton, but when are you going to spend it? I mean, you're like,
Hey, you
this
didn't
is-
have time to spend it.
I mean, it's almost like the Twilight Zone. You got what you wished for, but you
Yeah,
can't touch
yeah,
it.
but
you
your
know? It's like-
glasses are broken.
You
You're
broke it,
finally
yeah.
in a library
Yeah.
with all the books in the world, but you don't have
I
glasses.
can't. There's no. And it's almost exactly
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
exactly. You didn't have time to date or have a relationship or anything.
Yeah, all the things you dreamed about when you broke
would
out
be
of the
so
town you
cool.
lived in. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, when I get to college, I'll be. But you're like, oh, but I have to study all the. You
Yeah,
don't
now
have the
I'm
time.
just working like a dog.
So you want to get out.
Yeah, I really wanted to get out. 1 year, contract's done, I'm leaving. And the 2 lead singers who have become like my closest friends, 2 guys named Buddy and Sterling.
Okay.
And they were called Vest and Clark. That was their last names. They were singer and dancers, and they had gotten a show in Paris. The God, what was that? Can't even remember. But now it was the Folie Bergère I think it was the Folie Bergère or the Lido. Wow. Anyway, they said, come with us to Paris. So they'll say, we'll get you in the show there. So we go over. They did get me in the show. I rehearsed. The French girls were so mean to me. So horrible. Made my life a living hell.
I'm not surprised.
I didn't start the show. I rehearsed, and then I said, I can't do the show. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So it was just not fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it was. I'm dancing with a bunch of like 30-year-old women who are French. I'm
Yeah.
a 19-year-old American.
And you're not very popular with them.
I was
imagine.
not
Who do you
popular
think
with
you are
anybody.
coming
They
in
were-
here? Yeah,
I was
Yeah.
really treated like you can't imagine.
Well, I'm
So-
sorry you had to go
Yeah,
through
it was a bummer. So I was going, I'm not doing this.
Right.
So I hung out in France. Another showgirl came over, also a girl named Sunny, and we decided that she and I had been singing also in my show. I'd got a little singing gig thanks to Elvis, who told me I should sing. So I sang one
Can we
song.
back up 1 second
No,
there?
I know.
Thanks. I mean, I won't. I mean, I'm a huge Elvis fan. I won't hop in this there, but
Oh,
it's just
yeah.
in case people missed that, Elvis
Yeah.
in Presley was like, "Hey, Cassandra,
You
you
should
should
get a
probably
chance to
sing."
sing.
Yeah.
It was so bizarre. I one night Elvis was having a party. I finagled a way to get to it. One of the other showgirls, who was also my roommate, had been dating Joe Esposito, who was the what do you call it? Kind of the road manager.
Yeah, it's one of
I
those
guess
Memphis
you would call it.
Mafia guys.
Yeah, awesome guy. He was the road manager, and she had been dating him. Whenever Elvis came through town, she'd been going out with Joe, and he's still a friend of mine. It's great, and she was invited to go to a party after the show. Elvis had come and seen our show, which was
That's enough.
mind-boggling.
Yeah. Did you know before or after? Because before would have probably been
Right before they told us, right before,
Oh,
I
God.
was almost like, I can't go out there. I had, once to me, I've got to do the best job I've ever done in my life. And on the other side, I don't think I could
Yeah.
do it, But it was just him and his little group, Red and Sonny and
Yeah.
Joe. And
They
in
were
one
TCBing.
booth. One booth. They kicked everybody else out of the theater. There was no one there. Just them.
Oh, it's a show only
Yeah,
for them.
For them.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
okay.
because they couldn't
can.
go anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
How could they sit, in the middle of like
Yeah. People aren't going to be watching the show. If
no,
yeah.
they're just going to be, yeah. So anyway, just him and his little group, and they watched, I think they took up like 2 booths. So afterwards, they invited her and him back. I begged, cried, pleaded, said,
Yeah.
please let me come with you, And finally she goes, well, I'll ask Joe. And they said, okay. So I went, and there were a group of, 20, 25 people there that worked with him and that worked at the International Hotel, it was
Yeah.
called back then. And it was this giant suite on the top floor with a big grand piano and this view of the whole, Las Vegas. And,
Literally the top of the world.
yeah, it was. It
Yeah.
was, white carpeting with, I'd never seen anything like it. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe my eyes. And Elvis kind of just comes over and starts talking to me. So, I think about it then. I'm go, okay, I was 17, or 17 or just 8, right around that, 17 or 18. And Elvis comes over, everybody else is like, in their 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
And you got to think back. Look who Elvis married. Like,
Yeah.
right. She was 14 and,
Yeah.
went
a
through
young
that whole
gal.
thing with Priscilla.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
he liked young girls.
He may have.
Maybe.
Yeah. There's some
The
theories.
people okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I was the most fascinating thing in the room.
you
but
may have been to
I was
him.
17.
Yeah.
So he comes over, we start talking, he starts talking about everything, I don't know, we were talking about numerology and astrology.
And he was on to karate at this time.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
he was showing me his belts,
Yep.
a black belt, and this belt he got from the president. It was like this big wrestling,
Oh,
it
yeah.
looked like a big wrestling belt.
From Nixon?
Yeah, from Nixon. I always think, who was it? It was from
Nixon. There's that photo of
He's
them.
showing me that, and he's showing me not like showing off, but like, look at this. Is this awesome or
That's
what?
his day.
President gave me this.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm like, wow, holy crap, that is awesome, and we're talking about, he goes, do you do drugs? And I go, well, not really. I'd like done every drug.
Yeah.
I just smoke pot once in a while. Don't smoke pot. Don't do drugs.
Those
don't do
beatniks.
Oh my God, he gives me this big speech about you cannot do drugs. And what are you doing in being a showgirl here? And you're this young. Why are you here? What are you doing? He goes, you don't want to stay here. Trust me. This is not a good place. Do not smoke pot. Do not stay in Vegas. This is not good for a young girl. You need to get out of here. You need to find. But I'm going, but this is my dream of my whole lifetime. All I wanted to be was like a showgirl because
Viva
I saw
Las
you in
Vegas.
Viva Las Vegas. He's like, yeah, but it's different. It's not good. You'll end up being, an old showgirl, and I don't know what could happen to you. And it's not a good town.
I wonder what. That's odd. Like, it's
really
shocking
got
that
into talking me out of being there, and I was like kind of getting really depressed because it's like.
It's Elvis.
It is my dream, and Elvis
he's
is telling me what
crushing
to do. And so we go in. There was a grand piano in the main room, but then there was another side room that had a little like upright, short little upright piano, and he starts playing it, and I'm sitting next to him on the bench, and I remember he plays Moonlight Sonata.
Okay, yeah.
But he's singing along to it. He goes, oh, that's cool. I have lyrics for the Moonlight Sonata. And I start singing harmony with him. I'd been in the school choir, so I was very, very groovy singer. But I start singing harmony, and he's going, you have a good voice. That's it. That's what you should do. You should start singing. You should go out tomorrow. You should get singing lessons. You get a vocal coach, and you should start singing. Get over this dancing,
the showgirl
dead
thing,
end thing. It's not going to work out. I'm like, okay. And really, literally, the next day, I got a vocal coach, and I started singing. And I got a job in my show singing "A Good Man Is Hard to Find."
Wow.
The dance numbers, and my money, my pay went up, and I mean, all the girls had to audition for it, and I got it.
You got it. Point being, always listen to Elvis.
Always listen to Elvis because it did. It changed my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I ended up going to France, then Italy, got a little singing thing, then got hired by this band, toured around for, about a year and a half singing, and learned Italian, found out, how to cook Italian food.
That's what you mean when you say learn Italian and you learn to cook.
I did that too. Yeah, I actually learned to speak Italian and learned to cook, but had a great experience, great time. I loved all the people in the band and just toured constantly. It was really fun. So we went from Sicily up to northern Italy and into Switzerland, even down to Tunisia. And
so there's huge life experience. I mean, that nobody got to experience that kind of stuff, or very few people.
It was crazy. I didn't know what was going to happen day to day, but it was really exciting, really interesting, really fun, really opened my eyes to the whole world. And I don't know. Thanks to Elvis. I always say to people, I'm actually the youngest showgirl in Las Vegas. It says in some record books.
Oh, really?
Well, I was 17. I don't think I wasn't allowed to go in the casino. I had to come and go by the back door. But I always say if it wasn't for Elvis, I would now be the oldest showgirl in Las Vegas.
Right. But it almost goes back to seeing Viva Las Vegas. Did you see it in the theater or on TV?
I saw it in the theater, man, and I saw it a million times.
This is where I'm going. And you have these moments in your life that, small or big, your life literally split into before and after those moments. Seeing the Beatles, seeing Viva Las Vegas,
just like a moment.
Yeah, and everything's different. And sometimes you know it at the time, which I imagine Elvis telling you to do something, you kind of know it at the time. Sometimes you don't. You're seeing Viva Las Vegas and don't know that you'll actually end up there at some point.
Let me tell you, at that time when I said to people, I'm going to Las Vegas and I'm going to be a showgirl, people laughed in my face.
Sure.
I mean, my parents said, you're not tall enough or pretty enough. Those women are beautiful and you can't do that. And, I'd tell kids at school and they'd be like, they didn't even know what the hell I was talking about.
Right.
And I did have one teacher, my art teacher, who I'll never forget, Mr. Samuelson, who said, he said, what do you want to do with your life anyway? I said, I want to be a showgirl in Las Vegas. I'm waiting for him to slap me and laugh at me. He goes, well, then do it. I go, what do you mean do it? And he goes, if that's what you want to be, just do it. He was the head of Nike. He invented that phrase.
Yes, he gets a lot
And I
of
was
my
like, seriously?
Yeah.
And he goes, yes.
It's simple that someone could say that to you, but you don't, as a kid, an adult saying that means the world.
It did. It was like an adult who I really looked up to. He was the only teacher I really adored. And him saying that was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. If you think I'll do it.
Yeah, no matter how everybody else thought. It
Yeah.
was like, it really, if I would have said I'm going to the moon and
Just
I'm going
go.
to live on the moon.
Yeah.
That was kind of how people looked at me
Oh,
when I said I was
absolutely.
going to be a showgirl.
Yeah, I mean it's like anything creative, especially at that point when it was like your trajectory is you go work here, you do this, you do like a normal thing, but anything that differentiated from that path, people are like, are you out of your mind? Like
Yeah, really like, yeah, right.
So so you get back here after the band had ended? Did you land in New York? Was that kind of where you?
No, I
ended
came
up?
back and I went and stayed at my parents for a short time in Colorado
Ooh,
Springs.
that's
I know.
a shock.
Yeah, it was a shock. I had nowhere to go. I didn't
Yeah.
have a place that I lived really anymore.
Right.
And one of the choreographers, who I'm still really good friends with, is called up and said, "Hey, I'm doing another show in Florida on Miami Beach at the Playboy Club."
Oh, nice.
It was called Fantasies of Love au Naturel.
Ooh, French.
Yeah. French. So, because he was doing it, I loved him, and it was just like, I gotta go do this show.
Yeah.
His name was Jerry Jackson, still is Jerry Jackson, and he had me over to go to Florida, and I became the lead nude.
Excellent.
Oh.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I had my pay was like double when
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
in Vegas, and it was the great thing was it was a short show, and we were dark on 2 nights of the week.
So you had more time to live.
Oh my God, more times to have fun. Worked the other nights, and it was 3 months period
Yep.
from beginning to end. So that was like, I can deal with
Yeah,
that.
a nice little bridge back into that world when you kind of it's like you just got put in an ice bath almost back in Colorado Springs, maybe literally.
I needed money.
Yeah.
I had no freaking money.
Yeah.
I was like, I'd blown through it, whatever I'd made over there.
Right.
I just like used it up and came home with nowhere to stay, nowhere to go, no money.
Right.
So this was like, oh my God, I'll just go there and save
Salvation.
up every penny.
Yeah.
Which is what I did.
And you moved to LA with that money?
I met a guy, he was a singer in the show, and he became my first real long-term boyfriend.
Right.
And he lived in LA. And he said, move back to LA with me. We'll, share he had a little house in Beechwood Canyon over in Hollywood.
I was staying there the other day.
It was $90 a month.
Oh.
We split the rent. We split it. And I remember the day it went up to 125, I was like sobbing uncontrollably.
What are we
never
gonna
be
do?
able to afford this. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
125 was unfathomable, But I decided when I got back to LA, and he said, what do you want to do? And I go, I don't know. I think I'll get into acting, I don't know. I still danced. And I kept taking dancing and singing gigs that would take me on the road. I kept doing it.
It was what you knew.
It was a thing I knew I could do, and I'd go on auditions, and I'd get the part, and they're going to pay me like $800, like $1,000 a week or something. Jesus, I can't turn that down. If I'm here being a hostess at a restaurant making like $3.50 an hour. So somebody tell me about a job, take off the road, and I was never making momentum in acting because
You're constantly gone.
Yeah, every time I'd come back, my agent would no longer be my agent.
Right.
My new photos would have to be new. Everything would start over back at square A. I did it about 3 or 4 times before I finally said, "Look, if I'm going to really be in show business, I'm getting older for a dancer."
Yeah.
Getting up in your
body kind of starts to fall
Yeah.
apart from dancing so much at that age. Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't hire. They hire young dancers. I mean, you get old, your body is
Can't do what you used to be able to do.
Yeah, it's a finite career,
Yeah.
And I was never a good enough singer to be like, oh, I'm going to go be
Lynda Ronstadt.
Madonna. or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just wasn't that good of a singer.
Yeah.
So I thought acting's a good way to maybe go.
Yeah.
So I thought if I'm going to do that, I'm going to just stay here and starve, and I'm going to
Do the work.
Go to acting class, go on interviews, get an agent, get the photos, get the stuff I have to do, and turn down all the gigs every time I get asked to
Which
go.
must have been really painful.
It was like a knife in my heart when I was just, living in this scum
against
horrible
everything. Like, but I
apartment.
could just go. Yeah.
I'm making, $180 a week now. I with $1,000.
I know.
on the road,
But you needed to see the long-term plan.
I did,
for the first
did.
time, probably, where you should have stopped kind of just going with the flow or getting the next thing.
I really made. I don't know what caused that to come at that time, but I just said, hey, if I'm going to do this, I've got to stay here. And it came to a certain point where I said, where I was going on auditions and doing little TV appearances, where I thought, I don't really want to try serious acting. First of all, I'm super shitty at it. Secondly, I don't want to remember like my dead grandmother and cry.
Sense acting. Yeah.
I mean, I was taking acting classes, just going like
drudging up stuff that's really unfun for no real reason.
It's horrible. And And I go, I'd rather be funny. I'd rather do funny parts.
Yeah.
You know. And a couple of friends had taken me to see the Groundlings.
Right.
And man, I saw them on stage. I go, this is what I want to do. Oh yeah, this is. Yeah.
Was that when Lorraine Newman was still in the
Lorraine
Groundlings?
Newman was
Jack
in it.
Sue doing it still
No.
then? Okay.
God, I can't remember who was on stage then because it's all then was just like a
Right.
blur. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
This is awesome.
I've never seen anything like this,
Nothing
which no one was
like
really
it.
doing.
Yeah, I stopped all the other acting classes that I was taking
Yeah.
that I really, but it was so funny. I was taking one acting class out here in the Valley, and there were like about 7 guys, and there were 3 women, and the women were me, Wonder Woman, what's her name?
Lynda Carter, yep.
And Deborah Winger.
Oh, wow.
We were the 3 girls
Wow.
in the class, and it was a really dorky. It was called Lou Dressler's Patio Playhouse. And Debbie was always there with her mom. Her mom
Yeah.
always came and brought her, and she had giant frizzy hair and braces and glasses. Well, the first thing she did was with Lynda Carter
Yeah.
doing Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she put Wonder Girl or something on that.
Wonder
Yeah,
Girl.
yeah.
So, but this was way before all of that happened.
Yeah.
And
How weird was it when you
Isn't it
saw
weird?
them, like you see Lynda Carter now in like 75 when Wonder Woman starts, you're like, I was in an acting class with that person and now that's an enormous show.
Oh, I know. No, it was bizarre. It was weird as hell. Her claim to fame was she had been Miss something, Miss some state.
Yeah, somewhere down south, I think. Yeah, it was like Tennessee or something like that. Yeah.
And so I was shocked. I was like,
Yeah.
holy crap, what happened? I mean, I knew she was like good looking and
Right.
everything, you know.
She's getting variety shows now and
she
singing.
did that before I did.
Yeah.
And then I think Deborah, then she got a Wonder Woman, but
Right.
then her career really took off later after I became Elvira. But
Right.
I always thought, wow, what a freaking bizarre chance that there would be 3
Yeah.
girls
And all
in
the
a
guys
class.
did nothing.
I don't remember a single guy. I don't remember any of their names
Yeah.
or anything
Well,
they
now,
ever
why
did.
would you?
Sad.
So you joined the Groundlings, and is that where you met like John Paragon and Paul Rubens? And,
Oh, yeah.
Phil Hartman was
Yep.
part of it then, and
Lorraine had just left to do
yep.
Saturday Night Live, which was a big deal,
Yeah.
of course. Well, we didn't know how big a deal it was at
right.
the time.
It
Right
had
at the
never been
moment.
done before.
Yeah, we didn't know. It was just like, but it was like, oh my God, she's going to New York to be on a TV show. What?
Yeah.
And everybody kind of gave everybody some kind of a little glimmer of hope. You
Yeah,
know, like
there's a way out.
wow, you could be here. You made no money at the Groundlings. You
Right.
paid to
Right.
be in the Groundlings, and you scrubbed bathrooms and cleaned up, and you know, you did all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really hard to go there every night. Every night you'd go.
So you're doing
you
shows
went to
every night or
classes.
training?
No, first
Okay.
you went to classes. First you went to classes and classes, and that went on forever. And then you were a Groundling.
Yeah.
Nowadays, oh my God, you get voted in, and
Oh,
it can
really?
take years and years and years to be a
Wow.
Groundling. Yeah, it's
But they were kind of inventing it as they were going
we
along
were.
a little bit. Yeah.
I don't think I would have ever gotten in. They would take anybody there. You pay the money, you were a Groundling.
So you didn't have to like audition or anything.
No, now you have to audition. The Groundlings vote you in or out. Like what's her name? Kathy.
Griffith.
Griffin.
Kathy Griffith.
Jesus.
Yes, yeah, Kathy Griffith.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Kathy.
That's all right. Yeah.
Kathy Griffin was in the Groundlings classes, but she never made it into the
They
Groundlings.
didn't vote her in.
She never voted in.
I guess when you were
You know,
doing
and
it,
she was there, I think, 5 years or something.
Just
You have to
slogging
check
along.
that to make sure. But a lot of people still are famous that
Yeah.
don't get into the actual Groundlings.
Right. They
go
still
into
got the
Sunday
training.
class. Yeah, they get the training, and that's invaluable.
Yeah.
It was amazing, really.
and you had no way to train that way before that because you could only do serious acting classes or, the only way to learn comedy at that time because stand-up
It's to get up and do stand-up,
stand-up,
somewhere.
which
and
is not the same thing.
No, they're so different. They're so different. And I think that's why Kathy really didn't get it. Kathy really is more of a stand-up comedian, and
Yeah.
it was more all about
The group.
Kathy. Groundlings is more about the group.
Yeah.
It's really, really about working with other people.
It's the
Stand-up is
antithesis
about,
of stand-up.
It's me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is. It is. I think there's very few comedians that make that kind of leap.
Yeah, because one is
Go back and
social and
forth.
one is antisocial. I mean, it really
It
are
is.
opposites.
It's very bizarre when you think about it. The thought of doing stand-up terrified me. I mean, I couldn't even.
Well, did
think
you
for a
have trouble
second.
coming out as Cassandra and doing stuff? You needed
No.
to be a character, right?
Yeah,
Is that-
no, I was happy to try to play character. I was
Yeah.
never great at that. That's a weird thing. I'm a character. I was never that great at developing characters in the
Right.
Groundlings. Everybody I was in the Groundlings with will tell you that. I just had really stupid things like that all seemed. They were always like I was the sex symbol of the Groundlings. That's what
Okay.
they'll tell you. I always
You're
played
the ginger.
the sexy this girl or the sexy that girl. I was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
hooker. I was the showgirl. I was the those were like the characters I ended up playing.
You were also probably the one in the whole group that had done the most living. Like you probably had the most life experience.
Probably.
You'd been around the world and kind of come back to this world where they probably are fitting you in those roles because they're like, well, I don't know what that's even like. You've seen things and done things,
Yeah, who knows? I don't know, but I felt like I just felt able to do it with a group, with an ensemble, with people that were supporting you, and there were other people in there who were so freaky brilliant.
Yeah,
I mean
that
Al
group
Rubens
is
and John Paragon and Phil Hartman, and there's a million others that were brilliant. But those, obviously stand out because they all made incredibly successful showbiz careers.
Yeah,
and they keep pumping them out of that group.
Oh yeah,
man.
they
pumps them out.
They changed the way that we had comedy, but also media, and that gets to when. So were you doing Fantasy Island while you were in the Groundlings? Because that was your first kind of high profile.
Fantasy Island was right before. Yeah, that would have been in the Groundlings, and it was a straight part again. I mean, not comedy,
right?
But I mentioned you earlier. Yeah, I get a part in Fantasy Island, and I'm so bad that they make my character deaf and dumb.
But you got to come back.
I did.
Which is still good.
Yes, I think a deaf mute would be a way to have said that before. But I got that part. And I was still getting little parts like on dancing, like on the Sonny and Cher show.
Right.
Dancing on the Tony Orlando and Dawn show. Whatever little TV things came up.
Right.
It was good to have a little dancing background. But obviously, I was not a very good straight actor because I
weren't getting those parts even though you got out
not
for
be
them?
able to speak. Yeah.
When you're around on those variety shows, were you kind of hanging around and soaking it in a little bit because you're aware of comedy more? If you're taking classes, are you kind of like, oh, how are the comedy sketches going, or what are they doing with that area instead of just focusing on the dancing because you were a little more, your eyes were open to it a little more?
No, I got to a certain point again. Like after I got in the Groundlings, I go, if I'm going to do comedy, I'm not even going on another dancing interview. I'm not going on another serious part.
This is what I'm doing.
Oh, I went like on a part for BJ and the Bears, and that's the day I lost it right during the interview. They wanted me to pretend. I had this little tight skirt. They wanted a sexy girl. Then they wanted you to pretend in the interview. There's all these guys sitting there, like the director and the writer, and they said, okay, you're on a motorcycle, you're racing around this track, and then you have a crash and you die. And I'm going,
what?
Okay, how do you want me to? Well, get on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And then you race around the track. I'm going, here in this room. I'm like, I'm going to, how many, look, can you do this or not? And I'm like,
no.
Yeah, you know what? I tried for a minute, like sort of going, vroom, vroom, and running around, like I was sitting and about for 2 seconds, and I think I fall on the floor, and I think I got up and honest to God said, yeah, fuck.
Right. For a show with a monkey.
Out.
Literally for a show
with
you're going to do this for a show with a monkey.
And I'm like, this is it. I've had it. I'm never doing. I really got up and just stormed out of the interview, slammed the doors, crying. I was so humiliated.
Yeah,
that was
that's
so
awful.
humiliating. And a lot of interviews went on were pretty humiliating. But so serious stuff is like I can't do it anymore.
You hit the
I am
wall.
doing comedy, nothing but comedy. If they ask me
Right.
to do something, I'm not doing it. If it's dancing, singing, if it's comedy, I'll go in on the interview.
And so you started,
starve in the meantime.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you choose an art, that's your calling. You tend to starve. It's the things that make money or the things that you don't want to do. They tend to be.
Yeah, and I had a straight job. Of course, I had to. I worked as a hostess at an Italian restaurant. Seating people and.
Well, you had experience in Italy.
Yeah, it was fantastic because everybody there spoke Italian. That's why I was hired.
So it was comfortable.
Definitely. It was fantastic.
Elvira started what, like 82, 83?
81.
81. Okay,
Yeah.
so the paragon of
fall of
comedy
81.
specials later, right?
God.
I don't know.
I can't remember the timing of that, but.
Because that was the first thing I saw
it's-
you in as in a comedic role that was a non-Elvira part. So I don't.
I think it must have been before. 'Cause
Yeah.
I did very little after I became Elvira.
Yeah,
I was
that's
pretty
what I was
much
gonna say.
Elvira. I really didn't have time to take other things, and didn't want to do it because it's like I'd get paid more as Elvira
Right.
if I just went on and I'd get scale and I wouldn't be working that day as Elvira, so I'd get less money.
Right, and
So
you
I
get
think
that
it must have been before.
because I loved. Showtime I think did that, and that was that Groundlings group. It was John and you and a few other people, and it was a sketch show.
Yeah, Paul. I mean, Paul in the beginning. John helped write the show. I mean,
Right.
He and I sat in front of the movies, a little cubicle at the TV station, and watched those movies over and over and over. Thought of every joke we could, and then John would go and put it in a script format.
Right.
And Paul was helping out too. I had Paul on several times. He and John did characters called the Fat Boys.
Yep.
They would be in these fat suits, and Paul came on as Pee Wee a few times. And also there was nobody knows this. We did a little theme song when I did the first 3D televised show that was ever in the U.S.
Was it Ape on the Loose or The Mask?
It was Vincent Price and House of Wax.
Oh, House of Wax. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So first time 3D had ever gone on TV, and we made a song for it, which John wrote called 3D TV, and. I always tell people come up to me a lot with the album, like it's an antique now, and say, "Oh, would you sign it?" And I said, "I got to tell you one little thing that's not down here. The two backup singers on there are John Paragon and Paul Rubens, and they're standing in my bathtub with the shower curtain drawn so that we have awesome sound.
Nice acoustics.
Yeah, fantastic. And we sang it right there in my bathroom at my little rental house. And
it's
John
on a
and
real
Paul sang
record.
backup.
It was Rhino put that out, I think, right?
Yeah, Rhino.
Didn't
Rhino.
Holly Knight wrote one of the songs on there?
Yeah,
I think,
Holly's
too,
a really good friend.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, she's written
and then
amazing
Fred
songs.
Schneider works with stuff now. Yeah, Holly, my God, Holly's like super writer.
I mean, all the list of songs she wrote is crazy.
Still
and
is, too.
One of those songs on there it's a great song.
Yep.
So it's interesting now that you start at this point, you're doing Elvira and it was kind of a lark. You kind of went in for an audition basically and got this thing on a local. It was just strictly local. At the
Yeah,
beginning.
and it was paying nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, like $300 or something, and then after tax, you get
Right.
it with one
And
name
probably
or
a
something.
lot of work because you're watching the movies
A
over
lot
and
of
over again.
work. I didn't realize. I thought, hey, cool, we shoot one day a week.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just be screwing around, whatever.
Yeah, and then the rest of the time you're watching these movies
Yeah.
and trying to come up with the stuff and write it.
You're also the producer and writer. We forgot to tell you that as well.
Yes, yes. They did forget to tell us that.
But because it was L.A., some high-profile people watched it, or kind of became a sort of a cult hit.
Yes, it became ridiculous. I mean, so I just went in for the audition. I was like, oh, that's cool. I work in TV is better than hostessing down there. So got it. Had to come up with this wacky costume, and I had like my really closest friend was this guy Robert Redding, who he and I used to be in a group together, singing, dancing group, and he was an artist. And we sat down, tried to come up with a costume. Our first costume was like Sharon Tate from Fearless Vampire Killers.
Okay, so like very gothic, chokery.
Yeah, a long pink, flowy, tattered gown with a super white, kind of dead girl look, black eyes, white lips, and long red hair.
Yeah.
And we take it into them, and they go, no, it has to be all black. Yeah, it's all got to be black hair, black
That's
dress.
horror here.
Yeah, it's horror. You can't wear this,
Yeah.
Honestly, it was like, really? Okay, so back to the drawing board. And, with those parameters, black hair, black dress, sexy. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So,
But he also absorbed sort of the punk movement that was going on
He
at the time,
did,
and like a lot of that stuff.
strangely, Robert's favorite group in the world, and one of my all-time favorites was the Ronettes. And Robert said, you've got to do Ronnie Spector hair. I'm going to design this fabulous, it's called a knowledge bump. And you're going to have that. So he did this big hairdo and then we put long hair down below. So it's Ronnie Spector hair. And then he got the makeup out of like a kabuki makeup book, the kabuki theater makeup book, which I recently found out after when David Bowie passed away, which was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
There was an interview with him. I was listening to a lot of interviews, and he was talking about how his whole Ziggy Stardust look came from a kabuki theater book. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, we're ahead of our time.
That's when he's like
there,
some cat from Japan.
That was good. Oh my God, I love David Bowie. That was
But I mean, to sidetrack a second here, David Bowie was really the last that I can think of all media, world-changing, famous artist.
Yep, it's true. He did, I mean, everything and anything. And
like
acting,
Elvis was like
singing,
that. And these icons.
It's true.
You can't imagine ever not being around.
No, that's true. People are more pigeonholed into things.
People that your grandmother knows who they are, and a guy at the gas station knows who they are, and the hip people know who they are. They might not like them, but they know something they've done.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have that. And that was, I mean, aside from loving David Bowie and everything he did, it was like, who else is left that are these people who changed everything? And you really do think they're always going to be around.
You are full of interesting
I'm
information. You are. I'm going to be going home and thinking
I
about this
overthink
stuff
things.
forever. No, you don't. It is true. It is true.
And
who do you have like that?
Nobody. I mean, I think maybe in the 80s it started to wane, and we had like Madonna-ish and Michael Jackson, Springsteen, sort of. But the difference, I think, with them was that they were, I don't want to use the word victim, but they were commodities a little more. They were a little less involved.
They were running the show.
Yes, really an artist. Like he was like, I know what I'm doing, and I'm doing some
his
weird
clothes, his hair changing. I think Madonna probably picked that whole idea, or people managing Madonna picked that whole idea up, but yeah, constantly changing looks and ideas and feels and names and everything. Prince did that a little bit.
Yeah, and way ahead too. Like where now people look back and go, "Oh, that was so cool. He did this and this and this." But at the time, people were like, "What the hell is he doing?" And it was 3 years later that now everybody is, new what I always say about Bowie is every time he put out a new album, it invented a whole new genre of music.
He did. You're right.
Here's new romantic. Here's electronica. But he wasn't consciously doing that. It was just he was inventing this stuff for the first time. It was the Groundlings every album almost.
It was. It's amazing when when you say that now. You're blowing my mind. You are. I went and saw him perform when he did Fame, and then he was just like a straight guy. He almost seemed like Tony Bennett or
wearing
Frank
suits
Sinatra.
and
he wore a suit and he just stood up, and he had a really beautiful voice. And I love that album Fame. I think of all my albums that I love that one the best. But it was pretty awesome to get to see him perform. But he was like a straight guy singer wearing a suit. Yeah. It was just like, wow. When I knew him from like Ziggy Stardust, I was wow.
And that's the most subversive thing he could do because people expect him to do something outrageous and he goes the opposite way. Then everyone was like, well, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Because he was just like, yep, so I'm a businessman.
Amazing. Super smart. Yeah, I guess people are sort of doing that now, but
it's too contrived or something, or it's not natural.
About Britney Spears,
but they have an army of people going, here's the next move. It's not
true.
A natural.
They're not the artist.
He consumed so much, and I think when you hear the interviews with him now, he was watching and reading and listening to and really like a futurist, where he loved the stuff.
Yeah, no, listening to some of those interviews, which I had never really listened to before. He was talking about. He had a particular Japanese person, a guy who did his costumes and everything, and it was just so, and they were so out there, so far ahead. He performed with a couple of friends of mine, Klaus Nomi and Joey Arias on Saturday Night Live. And Joey was talking about the interview, how he'd just gotten this costume from, Joey and Klaus were suddenly just singing backup, and David had just gotten his costume that day from this Japanese fashion person, and he put it on and he couldn't move. Yeah. And he was saying, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't move. I have to get out on stage, but I can't move. And then Joey goes, and Klaus goes, we'll carry you. And he goes, great. Perfect. And they just picked him up and carried him out there. And they said that was 5 minutes before they were going on singing backup for David Bowie. They couldn't
on Saturday Night Live, which everybody watches,
in the whole world.
And he took his notoriety and introduced Middle America to Klaus Nomi.
Yeah,
that was a thing you could do. Where there was a lot of people, I'm sure, who were like, I don't know what that is, I hate it. But back to the Beatles moment, there were kids like me who were like, I don't know what that is, but that seems amazing. I've never seen it before, and I want to know more.
And Joey is a pretty interesting character. Klaus was more famous back then at the time, but Joey is still going with the most avant-garde, awesome kind of shows. Joey sings mostly as Billie Holiday, but he performs, he dances, he sings, he does different looks, different things.
And he was on major network television. That's on NBC.
That would never
you could
never
get an artist wouldn't have that power to sneak that through now either.
No, you're right. Unless it was all planned out and you're going to do it. And
all the controversy that you see when the halftime show, which is all
let your
fabricated.
Let your nipple fall out. But bullshit.
You change people. I think that the other thing, not to get too heady about the show, but the other thing that I love about this era is that people are just doing a job. They go, I went and I performed Saturday Night Live, whatever it was. It was a job I had that day. But the unintended consequence is there are people all over the United States who see these things that they've never seen before. They have no access to, or it's completely alien from their whole experience, and it sets them on a path. It's that moment that they know this is what I want to do.
Moment that just
and you can't create it, and the things you were doing with the Elvira character when it started getting national, and what Paul was doing with Pee-wee and that stuff was like that for me and a lot of people.
It was a little freaky. People really were. I remember so many articles in the newspapers or interviews where people said you're looking at TV, you're flipping the channels, and then you see Elvira and you go, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
They said it's like seeing a car wreck. You don't want to look, but you want to look.
Yeah, it stood out like nothing else.
I hate to compare myself to a car wreck.
Well, I wouldn't have done that, but
But they did say it was like seeing the car accident.
Yeah,
but you wanted to turn away because it was so bad, but you couldn't stop looking because it was so insanely
compelling.
Ridiculous.
And then you like it because you're like, oh, she knows what she's doing almost.
Yeah, you kind of figure, she's actually It's just kind of
she's not a lunatic.
yeah,
It's
she's
a
not just
gag.
an insane lady.
But the other thing was that,
Which I am.
Well, she is an insane
I
lady.
fooled
Everybody.
them.
Yeah, she's completely nuts. She the whole time we've been talking, she's had her finger next to her ear, just swirling it around the whole time. But it really managed to capture a very specific time and place where you guys were the first TV generation. You grew up with television for the very first time, and that was coming into the stuff you were making. So you could make these references to the movies because you grew up with them. You could have an aesthetic that was.
Are you sure you're not a psychologist?
I'm not. I'm
and
sorry.
You're like, this is a test. And you're
No.
like,
Yes,
okay.
you've passed this test.
Yeah, you're freaking me out, man.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're bringing up so many really interesting, dimensions of this I've never thought of. That's
Okay. I mean,
pretty
you're in
trippy.
the middle of it. So you probably, as a kid, it was like I got, a whole history of popular culture distilled through these sensitive people who absorbed it when they were growing up. So you're taking the Beehive haircut and the punk scene that had been going on here for a few years, and Gary Panter's weird aesthetic, and this mid-century furniture, and because that's what you grew up with. But it's filtered through the 80s, and it's why sort of the stuff you were doing and that Paul was doing all had kind of a similar vibe in a weird way.
Yeah.
But we're all very different.
Yeah, I mean, some heavy stuff was happening, and the 80s was a fun, interesting time. I always tell people I only remember the 60s and the 80s. I do not have any
Even
knowledge
years.
of what happened in the 70s. I had no idea.
Yep.
I just went straight from the 60s to the 80s. But
skipped
I
it.
remember, like, music-wise, in the beginning of the 80s, and late 70s, really. But
Especially out here.
Yeah. I mean, when new waves started happening, and I heard like Chrissie Hynde and the Pretenders and the Talking Heads and the Go-Go's, and they were all playing in these
Oingo
little places.
Boingo, and
Oingo, oh my God! I went to the Whiskey about 1,000 times and saw Oingo Boingo. I became friends with what's his name?
Richard and Danny, the Elfman boys,
Danny.
those Elfman
oh my
boys.
God, Danny Elfman. Back then, was just like, oh my God, Danny Elfman. I mean, look where he went. That's crazy, man. But going every night to all these bars and seeing all those bands, and it was like the music scene had finally come back. I mean, to me, generally, I hate to say it, but 99% of 70s music sucks.
Well, it got very
in my book.
tired. It was very folky or like big arena stuff. And this is the first time people were like, "We're just going to do whatever the hell we like new."
Oh, it was energetic, and the whole punk scene, and it was like, oh my God. You felt that energy again for the first time, kind of that I felt with the Beatles.
Yeah.
know?
You'd never seen it before.
I'd never seen it. I was like, holy crap, what is this? I got to see more. I got to hear more. I got to be there.
And it was created by
I just
kids.
Lived. Yeah. It was created by young people. I lived at the freaking, like, the Whiskey and the Roxy and those places. I just lived there seeing what band is going to be next and come out, and try to talk the Go-Go's into letting me manage them. And
Did you really?
Thank God they escaped that. It was like, I knew nothing about managing
But you're
them.
like, I
But
need
there were
to
just these kind of little 5 chubby, really young girls, and I thought, my friend of mine, let's see if we could manage them, be their manager.
Could do something with them.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be good. They're a girl group.
When you roster off the people that came out of the scene, from the Bangles, the Go-Go's, but then you get stuff
Ridiculous.
like Fear, and it's a crazy amount of variety in
Misfits
this very
Cramps.
short time. The Cramps are another band that changed my life, where I saw
love
them on
Cramps.
Night Flight, which USA Network used to do, and
my
they showed the
God.
Cramps playing at a mental hospital one night, and it was just I couldn't sleep. I had horrible insomnia as a kid, so I stayed up all night watching TV, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but
that is awesome.
yeah, they were one of the best live bands. And again, they had that sort of trash culture aesthetic that wasn't, it was just what they grew up with. It was what they liked. And you were getting it through this, it was really an art prism presented as, kind of new disposable culture that's on this local thing.
Yeah, it's so true. And for women, also, it was mind-boggling. Here was Chrissie Hynde. I mean, she just happens to be one of my favorite of all
she was in a Total Boys Club.
Yeah, and she was Chrissie Hynde, and then the Go-Go's, the Runaways, the Bangles. Oh, it was
Poison
like,
Ivy
well,
from
girls
the
can
Cramps.
be, yeah. Oh my God, women could perform. Women could be tough and cool, and you don't have to be, like
a backup singer or a dancer.
Yeah,
you can write your songs.
Women were singing in the 70s. I want to know.
The 60s
Joan
were
Baez.
like
the Ronettes and like the
the Shirelles.
I mean, and I loved that. I loved that in the 60s. I was really early 60s. I was like, oh, they're awesome. But it wasn't. They were more singing about boys. And
there was a Svengali.
Wearing little dresses. And yeah. You didn't get a great vibe about
right, which is what the Go-Go's and the Ramones and those bands took that and made it kind of tough.
Yeah,
like the Go-Go's aren't that different from the Ronettes, except they're writing their own stuff and they're owning it.
It's true. Yeah. They're not singing about this boy breaking up with me and all that crap.
He hit me and it felt like a kiss.
Yeah. I'm friends with all the Go-Go's now, and with Chrissie Hynde too, and all these people. I mean, to get to meet them and talk to them. But yeah, he hit me and it felt like a kiss. Which I think didn't Chrissie re-record that one, or
I think she did.
She recorded one that was really like something about getting. Oh no, it was an old R&B tune from Motown about what's the name about a guy coming home and then he cheats on her and then he comes home and the girlfriend beats him up or shoots him or what. And here I am laying in the hospital. Yeah, which is even cooler.
Yeah, nice little. Yeah, and you have like Rodney on K-Rock's coming up. You got the Rodney
and I worked on K-Rock. I don't know if you know. I was a DJ and I worked with Rodney. Rodney was on and then I did a show right after.
Wow.
And Rodney and I became great friends and he was turning me on to everybody. And then I was running around the clubs. I was Elvira then, but I was working at night at K-Rock, and I was allowed to play anything I wanted.
Freeform radio.
So I would go to a club and hear somebody and go, do you have anything on a cassette tape, anything? Yes, and take it in and play it. And Rodney would say, have you heard this group Talking Heads? You gotta go see that. And it was he was like my teacher, and I was running around and just gathering tapes of bands. It was so awesome and so fun.
But it's interesting because it's back to the trends for the costumes. You have this you're attuned a little bit to and enthusiastic about it, so you want to take it in and you go, yeah, this is the thing that everyone should hear or everyone should dress as next year. And so you're still doing the same thing with bands on K-Rock.
Kind of maybe. I mean, I hope I like to pat myself on the back and
I would say
that's
so.
True.
Yeah, but and part of that's probably because you enjoyed it. You were enthusiastic about it.
I loved it. I was out of my mind over it, And when I got into something, I become a little obsessed about it.
Yeah.
And it was like, when I make up my mind, I'm going to just do comedy. I'm just going to do this. This is what I'm going to do
That's
all the
how
time.
you're good at
Nothing
things.
else. Sometimes I'll eat and sometimes I'll sleep.
Right.
That's
if I
all I'm
have
going
to.
do.
If I have to.
Yeah.
So Elvira starts to blow up, but before it went national, you were doing guest spots on, like, I think, was it Fall Guy I saw you on? Or like
Chips,
Chips,
Fall Guy, did a couple Fall Guys.
Bloopers and Practical Jokes, they would have you on.
Yeah. I mean, every
Tonight Show.
Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. I went on the Tonight Show 5 times and got to be on with Joan Rivers. Where it was just like, and, Johnny Carson, amazing. And David Brenner and what's his name?
Ed
the last one.
Leno.
Yeah. What's the last one? I can't remember anybody's name anymore. That's my problem. My brains are fried. So I got to be on with all of this.
For a local phenomenon still at that time.
It was pretty damn awesome.
That's how we all knew that we're like, where can we see this? And then it got syndicated.
Then it got syndicated. Yeah, after a few years, we were able to get it on syndication, which was a miracle and which obviously changed everything because I don't care how big you are locally. I don't know if it could ever really get to enough people.
No, it just, you need that national exposure but getting the national exposure because people here were watching it made everyone else really want to see it because they're like, first of all, it was kind of like a restaurant that has a secret menu where you're like, how come they all get to have this? We know about it, but we can't have it.
Yeah, we can't.
So when it started coming out, we were all very, very excited. And I think before the syndication, maybe you were doing the Thriller video intros.
Yeah, was that before? I did so many collections of videos. I know,
yeah.
Really, dozens and dozens. So I must have started.
I only bring that one up because that was the only place I could see it. Because it may have not just been airing in Boston, but we had a video store and they had Monster Club and
Monster Club. I love that movie. You know what? It's gone. Couldn't find it. Can't find it. No one knows where it is.
I have it. Yeah.
No, but I mean rights to it.
Oh, they are with two different companies because it was produced by.
You're right, because I've searched. for that
it's
movie.
Produced by the company that produced the Muppets in the 70s.
Believe it.
I know who it is. I can look it up for you.
You have to write it down.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I searched for that movie and could not find who had the rights.
It just had a Blu-ray release.
Oh my God! Everything has a Blu-ray release
England
except
and in
me.
America. I know, Mistress of the Dark.
Mistress of the Dark.
I love that
Everybody
movie.
keeps saying, "Why did they do Blu-ray?" Anchor Bay, they couldn't give a rat's ass. They
really,
just
it's
don't
such
do
a.
it.
We watch that every
Kills
Halloween.
me.
We watch it every Halloween. It's
people. It's kind of become a little cult classic, And people, say, "Oh my God, I've been through 3 copies of this movie, and it's like Wizard of Oz. I watch it every year."
It's so funny, and is a
Can't
perfect.
get it on Blu-ray.
It should be.
We asked the company about.
They said no, just
nobody
wasn't the
Blu-ray,
interest.
yeah.
I mean,
This is ridiculous.
and that's kind of thing where I'm like, I need a commentary, and we need some extras on this because it makes a great double feature with Big Adventure.
I did do a little commentary thing for Mistress of the Dark a while back, but for Europe. For
Oh,
England,
really?
and it was
For
pretty
European
damn
release?
funny. It was great. Yeah.
I love
did it
that
with
movie.
Edie, John Paragon.
Oh,
and
that's
Edie.
amazing.
Yeah. Right around the time it was syndicated or before, and I think before, but it was when I got the Coors national campaign
Yes.
for Coors beer, and that changed things up for me in a major way.
There's
that
cardboard
was the
stand-ups.
visibility, man. That was, I know, cardboard people
everywhere.
still bring them in. They stole them from 7-Eleven. I always know, where'd you get this? My dad stole it out of a 7-Eleven, or liquor store or whatever. But that Coors campaign, I have to say, even though it ended up being a very bad experience,
Yeah, but as far as a profile raise,
as far as seeing me and seeing my profile, I mean, people still, it's so funny now. People go, "I saw you on that Miller's ad, and I saw you on that Budweiser ad." Nobody knows what the beer is.
That
They
doesn't
just know
matter.
that, yeah.
They know it's you.
Yeah. And that really did pique people's interest. And I think that led to getting the syndicated show in so many markets.
Right.
So I do owe a lot to that commercial, even though they were really cheap and hard to
In
pay.
beer country, Milwaukee's going, what is
yeah.
this? Why don't we get this on our station
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
And we started to see every sort of market had a local horror host, which started to go away.
Yeah,
Just
it did.
because of corporate synergy stuff was changing.
Yeah.
So you were kind of positioned
And
in
the
the right.
films were hard to.
Yeah,
come
they weren't
by.
cheap anymore.
Nope, they
People
were not
knew they
cheap.
had value because of video.
Yep.
We can
yep,
sell this
yep.
on video.
Before they were giving them away
Yeah.
to me. I swear to God, giving them away. Paid me to take them sometimes,
Because they'd buy packages. There'd be one movie they wanted, and the company
And the
would go,
rest would-
you have to take all 50 of these.
Yep, and you couldn't. And later you couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
You get a package of 25. There'd be cowboy movies, detective movies, and
Yeah.
one horror movie, and you go, I can't pay for the whole package.
Yeah. Because I don't want.
People were like, why aren't you doing it anymore?
Yeah.
Can't get the damn movies.
There's nothing we can't do anything with most of the movies.
Yeah,
Because it raised the profile of those and made them more of a commodity because you were making them interesting and watching them in a way that you probably watched them growing up or a way that other people didn't experience and introduced that.
Damn it.
To
I
everybody.
hoisted my own petard.
Well, you flew too close to the sun.
I did. Exactly.
Invented your own monster there.
Damn it. Killed the horror host. But the horror host is coming back a little
Absolutely.
on because of thanks to the computer and,
Yes.
and the internet.
We have the web and we can it's sort of become it's democratic now. Everyone can really embrace that sort of thing.
Which I love. I mean, the money is not there, but the enthusiasm is, and people are into it. And
Right.
I'm so happy because there was a little time period there in the 90s. They go, horror host dead, over,
Yeah.
never see one again. It'll be a thing of the past.
People didn't want a human connection with things for a while. They
it's weird.
and radio DJs went away, and you were getting those stations like Jack FM.
Jack,
There's the
yeah.
but now that's coming back because since everyone can watch whatever they want whenever they want it, the only thing that differentiates it is some kind of personality or an event or a director's there or it's a interactive, it's
Yeah.
a sing along, Sound of Music.
Yeah, something like
Those
that.
are all rising up now because now it's a backlash of people saying, I thought I wanted to be able to watch whenever I want alone and whenever, and I realized that I want this shared experience again.
Oh God, there you go again, man. Yeah, really, that is amazing.
Well,
You're right. It's true. I gotta get. Okay, I need to sing along Elvira, Mistress of the Dark movie.
I would go in a second. Yeah.
I thought of actually doing that like Rocky Horror kind of where you have items that you pull out at certain points or you throw at the
Yeah, the
screen.
casserole
or whatever.
scene or something.
Yeah, right. I don't know if throwing a casserole would be good, but
Well, maybe not in the crock pot, but you're seeing, your friends start to rise up around you as well as you're rising with Elvira and, Lovitz is getting on Saturday Night Live. Rubens does
Oh yeah,
Big Adventure in
just
'85.
Everybody Lovitz, Julia Sweeney.
Yeah.
all those people were.
Hartman's on
coming in and it was
SNL.
like, holy crap!
Yeah.
It's amazing. I had my gig. I missed that whole thing.
Right, you're
unfortunately,
busy.
But I was off doing my little thing. Pee Wee was off doing his. It's
Although you
funny
do a
how
small
Pee
thing
Wee
in
and
it.
my,
Yeah.
a Pee Wee sized one.
Yeah.
But no, we were off. He was off doing. We were sort of on a parallel thing.
tracks,
It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
We even fought over the damn director for our movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really. I was totally wanting Tim
Burton. Yeah.
Thank you. See, I can't finish this sentence.
Well, it
Tim
makes
Burton
more
at
sense.
The same
like
time he did.
for the Nightmare Before Christmas stuff, Tim Burton, it made perfect sense to do an Elvira movie. It would ended up like sort of more Beetlejuicy, I think.
I was fighting for him. I'd been shown. Somebody had shown me Frankenweenie, the
Yes.
little short that he did. And I was like freaking, and this little short he had called Vincent.
Yep,
oh
about
my
Vincent
God.
Price.
And I was blown away by him. And at the same time, so was Paul.
Yeah.
And it turned out that Warner Brothers had more money than NBC. And
Right.
of course, you go where the buck are, so can't
Did you
blame
ever
it for that. But of course, that
Yeah, that worked out for everybody there
worked
on
out
their
for
side.
everybody.
Yeah.
And it's such a brilliant movie. And
Yeah.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, oh my God. And I got to be in it a little
Yeah.
bit, so that was fun.
Let me have it. And a great scene. But it's clear that like you guys all kind of were locked in the same comedic sense. You know, it's
It
very
is weird,
coherent.
isn't it?
And even Tim Burton. I mean, he grew up in Burbank and was kind of the same age and
Yeah.
the same world of this. You know, you're recycling sort of the weirder things that you took in as a kid, and it's spitting out in
He
this
was
sort of punk
definitely
world.
doing that. Isn't that funny? And even Danny Elfman
Yeah.
doing that sort of stuff at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is
It was
funny.
from your shared experience there, and I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. And
Obviously.
yeah, I know. I'm sorry. And I was so excited for when Mr. the Dark was coming out because it does sort of have the flavor of Big Adventure, probably because I think John worked on both too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does have that kind of vibe, you know, and I don't know. I don't know exactly why, but I think that has to do with the Groundlings and with the same people around and the same. We all had that.
Well, it's a culture
feeling,
clash,
you know?
and it has like a good journey. You know, there's like a thing that you're trying to. Well, they're both, you know, a book and a bike, and you're trying to, you know, they're like
Yeah.
a fetishized object that you know. But they make a great double feature.
They would, wouldn't it?
It's fantastic.
Oh my God, you'd get worn out by the end laughing.
Is there anything you watch now? Like once, so you're busy doing Elvira
you mean?
stuff, yeah, and it sounds like you didn't have time to watch
I
anything.
didn't. I was working. Now I do. I have my favorite programs that I watch, but you know, which of course you.
my
which are going
stories.
to be totally stupid. You know, record them and then
Yeah.
you watch them when you can. But Walking Dead, thank God I'm into a horror series, you know. But I love Walking Dead, and I work with a lot of the actors from there when we go to conventions and
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
pop culture. So I like get to meet them all.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And Sons of Anarchy, I was really into that when that was on.
Yeah.
Different. God, I don't know. I sort of watched Walking Dead and then cooking shows.
Yeah. Well, you need like a palate
Master
cleanser,
Chef and
you know?
Chopped and
Yeah.
stuff. I don't know.
Oh, and I love Good Eats and all those Alton Brown shows.
I mean, I just watch random cooking stuff. And then, okay, this is so crazy. Downton Abbey. I'm so hooked on Downton Abbey.
Really?
I just watched it last time.
What is it about Downton
So
Abbey?
Downton Abbey and Walking Dead are my two like whole long shows that I
Yeah.
sort of watch. I kind of been watching The Nick lately. Have you ever seen?
Oh
The
yeah,
Nick?
about the a friend of mine's in an episode of that. It's
Yeah.
about a hospital in New
Yeah,
York
and
in
the
the
guy's
1800s.
a heroin
Yeah.
addict, which is I don't know. I go in and out of that. I'm not like
Yeah.
fascinated with that, but and what's the spin-off thing from Better Call Saul?
Oh, yes, from
which
Breaking
I'm kind of
Bad.
waiting for that to come back. I was really
Yeah.
into Breaking Bad. That's when I sort of got back into TV was because of Breaking Bad.
That's what
and
did
then
it?
I got sucked into yeah. Somebody said you have to watch. I'm going. I just don't watch TV.
Yeah.
Got me into Breaking Bad, man, and I just like.
It's really it's a movie. I mean, that's the thing that's changed, and I always bring it up. It's the best of time, worst of times. But it used to be that you were a movie actor, a TV actor. That was it, or
Yep.
TV director,
oh boy,
movie
was
director.
that ever true, man? And if you
couldn't.
did TV and didn't do, you'd never go to movies.
No.
You'd never graduate.
Nope.
You could maybe graduate backwards.
Yeah, and there were people that tried. It was like John Larroquette, Shelley Long, Kirstie Alley. These people were like winning 30 Emmys, and
Yep.
it didn't work. People were like, "Nope."
I
you're
got to
not doing
tell
it.
you, when NBC came to me, Brandon Tartikoff, the president at the time, he loved Elvira, loved me, loved the character. I mean, and he said, "We have to do something with you. We want to do a TV show." And I'm like, I'm thinking about, I mean, how ridiculous. Now, if I go back in my mind, I go, why didn't I do the freaking TV show?
We
But
did a pilot,
I
though,
said, I later I did
Oh,
a
that was
pilot
later,
for
okay.
CBS. But if I said, I have to do a film.
Yeah.
I have to do a film.
I don't want to get stuck on the TV.
I don't want to get stuck just being a TV person. And
Yeah.
that was my thinking.
But
I
it was
think
the right
in
thinking.
retrospect, it was not good thinking. I think
mean,
it
I
would have
think
been
it-
better to have a TV show with somebody behind you that was so enthusiastic about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, Tartikoff was also the guy who said, "Look, NBC's in the toilet. Let's just do crazy things. Here's Misfits of Science and Punky Brewster and
he was.
whatever,
I
Miami
loved
Vice
him,
and
man. I
yeah.
loved him. He was always up for something fun and new.
Yeah.
So he produced my movie.
Yeah.
When I said I wouldn't do a TV show, he said, "We'll put the money up for you to do a film."
Which I think
That's
is the
what you
only
wanna
movie
do."
that he produced as an NBC
Ever.
production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved him so much. When
He
he died,
changed
it
the
was,
world.
It killed me.
If you look at the things he did and the things he greenlit, and there's a lot of weird stuff like Manimal,
Yeah, yeah.
and Automan and
Yeah,
stuff.
but he took chances.
He took chances.
And he did The Nanny.
Yeah.
I mean, he did stuff like
amazing stuff.
nobody would have done. They wouldn't have given that girl a.
No, oh, absolutely. not.
talking like that,
Yeah,
you know,
she was
I'm-
on a show called Princesses before that. That was like an ensemble comedy that she was the comic relief, and he's like, no, the lead.
Well, yeah,
really
see,
weird.
he would get. this idea in his mind think it's different and weird, and
Yeah.
just go with
and
it.
it worked.
Man. Yep.
And I don't think you were wrong, though. I think I'm sure you have regrets about it now, but at the time, you really couldn't imagine. If you were on TV, you're on TV. That's it. Nobody crosses over.
Never.
Bruce
Yeah,
Willis
people didn't
was
get that
trying.
now. People don't get that.
Because it's
I knew
people-
that would be a dead end if the show ran for, or if it could have not even get picked up.
Yeah.
But if it did run, I'm a TV actor.
For
Never
years.
getting out of it. And somewhere
Yeah.
I had in my mind that I was a film actor. Don't ask me why.
Well, you did make a great film. It makes sense.
I made one great film. I also like my other film, Haunted Hills.
Haunted Hills
but
I like,
That
yeah.
was on a budget of my money, $1 million, and
It's a very different vibe.
low budget, very different vibe. I went a totally different direction. I went to all the old movies I used to love when I was a kid,
Hammer
the
and-
Hammer movies, and when you mentioned
Corman's.
Corman,
Yep.
oh my God, I even went to Corman and tried to get him to make it, and he goes, "Yes, I love it. I love this script. I'll make it. Now you have to come up with the
Put up
budget,
the money."
put up the money." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Why the hell am I coming to you?
Yeah,
You know,
what-
and you pay us a certain amount,
Yeah.
and then we'll distribute." You
And
know,
it
I'm
will
like,
be very successful.
we'll do it on our own. But thank you anyway. I love Roger Corman.
Yeah.
I love him as a person and as everything he's done.
He's a really
but it didn't
smart
make
guy.
any sense at all.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like, so I pay you, I make the money, I pay for it,
Write
I give you part of the
everything.
money, I give you the rights, and then what happens to me? you know?
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Oh, he's such a trip. So anyway, I went out and made it, and I did make it like I had this thing about doing this homage to these movies I grew up with, the
Yep.
Roger Corman, Hammer films, and we really tried to make everything like that. And yeah, it really went off in another direction. And I learned an important thing, that people like Elvira as a fish out of water.
Yes.
That's where it worked the
Yeah.
best. Not as in my element.
Yeah, it was
Which
almost
I still like that movie. I still think
like
there's a
the
thing,
movie.
but it's not. It didn't grab people like the first one did.
the
No way.
conflict's not there.
Yep.
the-
There's something missing.
And I think with, not to get armchair psychologist, but I think maybe one of the things
I
that
love your
I'm
armchair
okay, well, it's a
psychology.
nice armchair
Tell
in this
me.
Airbnb, is that I think one of the things that people identified with that character, and you got these generation of goth teens and misfits and outcast teens.
Boy, do I see a lot of them and talk to a lot
And
of
I'm
them. They're
sure you
so
do.
Fantastic.
I'm sure you do. And it's them seeing you as this character who is like them and different and outsider and feels weird in a town, but being the smartest person in the room and kind of knows what's going on and also is really unfazed by it. And
Yeah,
is
that,
not.
that struck a chord with all
Yeah.
these kids who didn't feel, and a lot of gay
Yeah.
men and women, oh, I was feeling like I didn't fit in, I didn't know what to do, and and I saw you and I was like, hey, you can still be yourself.
Yeah.
It's
And be
okay.
funny about it and crack jokes and not
Yeah.
be just wallowing and
It really stuck a chord with so many people who feel like they
The little-
didn't fit in.
yeah.
Because I grew up feeling like I didn't fit in.
Exactly.
And then it was easy to translate. So it's amazing how many people come up to me and say, you were like changed my life.
Yeah.
I was such an outsider, such a misfit, and I'm like, really,
Really? Yeah. This little show I was doing?
You
Yeah.
swear to God, and I mean, I hear it all the time.
It's
And
the unintended
it's my proudest
consequence.
thing. I mean, I would put that on my gravestone.
Yeah.
If I helped like one person feel like, oh, I can get through this and not kill myself.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's the thing that I've, as I've gotten older, the edict that I've tried to live by is just people having been better off for having known you. And whether it's they know you personally or they know a thing you made and it's a small thing or a big thing, that's it. If you can do that,
Just one little.
just one tiny
thing.
thing. It's a
Yep.
show that you did because it was fun or it was a
You were
job.
here and you did
Yes.
something, made something better. There
Yes.
was a reason you were
Yeah.
on Earth.
Yes,
You know?
you told a girl not to be a showgirl, or you
Yeah,
made a movie.
It was Elvis, but you took
Yeah,
Elvis because he was
yeah,
Elvis. I took
yeah,
his advice. If
exactly.
you could have been Joe Schmo from the grocery store,
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't
not.
know. You
yeah,
know?
but it's those things that you can't force, and I think that when you show a movie with Elvira in her element, it doesn't have the same impact on a lot of those people, maybe because they don't identify with it as much anymore, which doesn't make sense because you're like, no, but it's the world you want, and
Yeah.
they go, but that's not the world I'm in, and I want to see me as I
you're
am in the
gonna
world I'm
create
in.
your own world.
Yeah.
If that world's not working for you,
Yeah.
create your own world.
Yeah.
And there's a funny thing too that a lot of guys tell me. They were, really young and they were feeling like they were probably gay, but they couldn't really even
Weren't
in
sure
their own
exactly what
heads
it was.
say or something.
Yeah.
But they said, "Oh, it's so many times they've told me. So I saw Elvira. I loved Elvira. I bought your poster. I put it up in my room, and my parents were so happy." They were like, I got another good 5 years out of being straight. It was like I didn't have to tell anybody anything. But a lot of people do that when they saw Elvira. I say to them, you either wanted to do me or be me, and that was when you decided what your sexual orientation was.
Yeah,
I think I made that decision for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and I helped a lot of guys, straight guys, through puberty too.
That is certainly true.
I wish I had $5 for every guy I helped through puberty.
Even $1.
Oh, even a nickel. Hell,
I think if you just sent out letters that look like tax forms to every man, just get a census.
Did I help you through
send
puberty?
One out? Yes. You owe me $1. You would get a lot of money.
So that's a good idea. I'll do it.
It would be a justified spam email.
It is wacky. But
that's going to be a little weird when you see people and you know.
Yeah, I know. It is a little weird, but I'm used to it now. They always come and you won't believe how much I loved you when I was a teenager. And I go, I think I helped you through puberty. And like, oh my God, they turn red. It's so funny.
Well, you cut them off at you address it first, and then they're like,
before they say it. And their wife is with them or something. I mean, they die laughing. It's really great. So impact on a lot of guys and a lot of girls.
Yeah, just a lot of, on that end or just generally, and it's kind of an amazing thing to have experience from your side and from the rest of the side as well. And
it's weird to think that Elvira's role model is pretty.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's sad commentary on society or.
It could be both. It could be damning and also be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it is, and the fact that it's endured for so long. I mean, there's still an appetite for it, and people still want to see Elvira things. And
it's very shocking to me that my popularity has been growing lately and moving into a younger audience. For a while there, I thought all my fans were going to die off.
Yeah.
Because they were getting older, and I was going, this is just diminishing. And I don't know what took a turn somewhere. But
the world's grown into it.
The last few years, and the internet.
Yep.
People are seeing my stuff where they don't see it on TV anymore.
Right.
But they find tons of content online.
And they're engaged too. They looked for it. It wasn't just stumbled on.
Yeah.
They want to see it, so they're more engaged.
So it's been amazing for me that my popularity seems to be exploding now with my licensing and merchandising and with going to conventions and
that's
my
new.
lines it's crazy.
The convention thing is I mean, I've been going to convention for 30 years. In the last 2 years, it's
isn't that
it's
wacky,
crazy.
man?
Crazy.
The first conventions I went to were car shows.
Yeah.
And you would have a celebrity or two at a car show.
Yeah.
And you sign autographs, and
Burt Ward's here with the Batmobile.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was there with the Macabre-mobile, so I had a reason for
I think you did like
there.
Spooky World in Massachusetts.
That was one of the few
which was one of the very
horror
few
ones that came along, and I'm, like,
it was
whoa,
really
this
weird.
Is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, man, there's
4
more
a month.
horror. I mean, I just got back from Terror Fest. I'm on my way to Wizard World.
The world has grown into all these things in a really weird way.
Yeah.
And it's cool, and also kind of like, it's almost like being the showgirl. For me, who's someone who loved this stuff growing up my whole life, it's almost like, I want to get to Vegas and be a showgirl, and you get there, and then you're like, but I can't. It's like, it's everywhere now, and I don't know what to, everyone's here. It's very weird.
No, it's crazy. People, I'm so amazed at the types of people, different types and everything that come to these shows, and that more of them seem to come all the time. But I think it's a thing that harkens back to your childhood.
Yeah.
And you see these, whether it's William Shatner or Stan Lee or, if you had this connection when you were a kid, it just doesn't ever go away. And it's one of the things I get all the time is that people come up to me, they start crying.
Yeah.
And they say, I watched you with my mom every Friday night. She passed away. I watched you with my dad. He and I, that's what we had to do together. The only TV show we both liked. I watched you with my grandma, my uncle, my sister. My dad.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have passed away, and people will be sobbing. And I go, what the hell touched
and you would
them
never
like that?
think that when you were making it. Never.
Hell no.
Yeah. And part of that is the way people used to watch TV, which was as a group. It was a social thing. You watched it with people.
Family thing. Yeah,
they don't do that now.
Me and my family watched it, and I go, you're a weird family.
Yeah.
And they always laugh, but
But I mean, you could have the grandpa saw that movie when it aired originally, and the kids picking up on the Valley Girl snarky fun
and
stuff
the funny
that you're
where I'm
doing.
falling off my couch,
and
then,
the little, and the dad's watching.
And then the dad looking at the boobs.
But I mean, it ends up being something for everybody, so that it's a compromise that ends up being good for sort of everyone that watches it, and it's something that we're kind of missing with a lot of the stuff that's being produced now. Your family's not watching The Walking Dead together, I hope.
No,
and that
not
great grim,
Really?
unrelenting stuff.
Can't even force my daughter to watch The Walking Dead.
Yeah, it's kind of it's great, but the whole time I think one of the things is just that sense of dread when I'm like, who's gonna get killed now? And it's just I kind of want a little bit less, but not just me.
It's Oh my God,
No,
this
I'm
is
sorry.
the talk of the
Yes.
center. Wow,
I'm sorry.
wow.
Two quick things.
No,
I
it's
can do?
fantastic.
Okay.
I could talk to you all day.
The pilot that did get made for CBS, which was Catherine Helmond, I think, plays your mother.
Catherine Hellman was she was my sister actually.
Oh, sister, right,
We were
yeah.
the aunts to a young
Yes,
girl.
it was almost Sabrina before they did Sabrina, but kind of.
Yes, that was a very sore spot for
I'm
me.
sorry.
It was us with that idea, doing the whole thing. Going to be a big success. That the president gets sick.
Oh.
Actually goes to the hospital the week that the pilots are being picked. They bring out this guy who's the head of sports in New York, Howard Stringer.
He's gonna love it.
He picks the thing. When he saw my pilot, he said, there were people in the room that were producers on the show.
Yeah.
He said, we can't have tits like that on CBS. And that was the end.
Oh,
Even
my
though
God.
I was told by the sound people that it was the first ever. He had been working there 25 years. Said it was the first time he did not have to sweeten a TV show in his career.
It's really
the laughter
funny.
of the audience was so loud. And I'm not saying it was the best show in the world, but
It should have
was just
gone.
a bad.
Yeah,
It should have gone.
yeah.
And the next thing, what happens? Sabrina,
Yeah.
same network,
Yeah.
same people.
That is odd.
A little odd.
I have seen it. I enjoyed the. It has that Addams Family vibe, Bewitched vibe too.
That's what I wanted to get
which
going,
is-
where we could
yeah.
do little magic tricks, and
Yeah.
they never quite go right
Yeah.
the way you want them to go.
Yeah,
And
you can
I mean,
see the
I-
DNA of the stuff that you
Yeah,
grew up with.
I think there was such a market there for that. And
Yeah.
I think what they did is, those two broads are too old. We're going to do the same thing with somebody really young for the teens.
Yeah.
That's who'll be watching the show. And I'm pretty sure that's
what
where
happened.
it flipped,
So-
which pisses me off. Like
I'm
crazy.
sorry to bring up sore spot.
I'm going to have
Yeah.
to punch you in
Yes,
the mouth.
I know.
Okay.
She just hit me. And then meeting Vincent Price, speaking of the Monster Club, because he
that was
is
a dream come true.
I mean, so you had him on Movie Macabre, right? Is that the first?
Yes, I mean it was like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe he's there. He's in a play of Oscar Wilde's life. He's in L.A.
Yep.
performing this play, and we get this idea. Let's just call him up and say, could he be on my show? Has he ever seen it? And he said, of course I've seen it. And he said, I'll do it if you'll let me plug the play. I said, you can plug anything
gonna
you
say
want.
no.
You can do commercials. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And so he rings the doorbell, and I open it. Vincent Price. I mean, I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
He was so nice to me. He was telling me how much he loved my character, and it was so great and so funny. And we started seeing each other. Well, we kept popping up at different award shows
Yeah.
and everything. I'd be giving him
Fangoria
an award.
awards,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And I'd always be giving him an award and or walking him out on stage or presenting. And we formed a little friendship, and got together for dinner with him and his wife Coral a few times.
Great
Saw
cooks.
them at different places. Oh, yeah, he taught me how to make to cook fish in my dishwasher.
Yeah, you poach it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you put it in aluminum
That's not
foil
in his
and then put
book.
it-
Wow, yeah.
No, he did. And I had his cookbook signed from when I was a kid. My dad worked at Sears selling washing machines, and all the Sears employees got that cookbook.
Right, because he
And my
sold
mom
it
threw it away.
exclusively. Really? Maybe that's what Mr. So the Dark is about.
It
You're
is,
trying to get that
I'm still
cookbook.
trying to find that signed cookbook.
signed
She didn't throw it away. She gave it away.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when she gave my stuff away.
Ugh.
I have 3 copies of it now, but
Yeah,
none
it's
of
not,
them
not
signed.
quite the same. Yeah.
But anyway, meeting him was like a dream come true. He was, since I saw him in House on Haunted Hills when I was like in
Yeah.
2nd grade, it just blew me away. And I was,
And I imagine that's when you knew you're like, okay, this is a thing. If I was able to, this thing we're
Vincent
doing, I
Price
could pull
came
Vincent
on my
Price
show.
in.
It really was. And,
Yeah.
and being invited on tonight's show was like,
Yeah.
what the hell is happening here?
This is a real thing.
Up until then, I thought, well, I got a gig, $300 a week, and
Yeah.
I can wear wacky getups so I can still get real jobs.
Right.
Man, it'll turn around then really fast.
There's little moments.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing
You're
this. It's been
welcome.
so great to talk
Boy,
to you.
We are the yakkinest people alive. we are.
People will enjoy it. It's fine. That's the great thing about having your own
It's
show.
going to be a 10-hour interview. I hope people love it. It's getting dark out.
I know.
God.
There's the helicopters left. Thank you.
Thank you. It was really fun.
Oh, baby, I see you in my TV set. Yeah, baby, I see you in my TV set. I cut your head off and put it in my TV set.
There you go. I did not exaggerate. That was a fantastic episode. If you enjoyed it even 1/10 of the amount that I enjoyed recording it, then this is your favorite thing you've ever heard. It's a little bit of hyperbole, but really fascinating. And I want to thank her again for being so gracious and fun. And I'm just thankful that she took the time to talk to me. I cannot thank her enough. And I will put up links to all of her social media stuff on tvguidancecounselor.com, although she's relatively easy to find. But definitely go see her at a convention or just check her out wherever you can. She is fantastic. Also, you can check me out at tvguidancecounselor.com or icanread.com. If you want to email me, you can email me at tvguidancecounselor@gmail.com or at ken@icanread.com. Also, you can tweet to me at tvguidancecounselor or go on Facebook and search TV Guidance Counselor and like us there, where you can talk to other listeners of the show. I hope to have another 150 episodes for you, not this week, but maybe over the next 2 years. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. I imagine you did if you got this far. If you are a new listener, welcome. I think you'll enjoy other episodes. If you've been around since day one, or if you've heard all 150 episodes, thank you. I cannot thank you enough for being here. This is my favorite thing I've ever done. I've done comedy for a number of years, and this show really is my favorite thing. And I get to meet people like Cassandra Peterson, which I never would have believed possible growing up. And this show is the reason that happened. So I thank you, and I will see you again next time on Wednesday for a brand new edition of TV Guidance Counselor.
Oh, we're watching the Silver Ace tonight. Fantasies of Love au Naturel.
Ooh, French.
You are full of interesting
Oh, I'm sorry.
information. I
Anything
hate
else?
to
Yeah.
compare myself to a car wreck. Looking at the boobs. I was Mo. How did you know?